Chapter 446. After the Netherworld Great Array was destroyed, the surrounding Netherworld fire quickly receded and could not continue to gather. Without the support of the Netherworld Great Array, Ming Chen's combat power was greatly reduced. It was as if he had been severely cut by a knife. His combat power suddenly decreased by 40 to 50 million, which was enough to show how amazing the impact of the Netherworld Great Array was. My Netherworld Great Array. While Ming Chen was still in a daze, Yi Tianyun seized the opportunity and fiercely slashed at Ming Chen with his sword. The sharp sword Qi slashed straight down. It was still so fierce and unparalleled. At this moment, Ming Chen immediately reacted and quickly dodged to the side, trying to avoid this violent sword strike. It has to be said that even without the support of the Netherworld Dragon Great Array, Ming Chen's speed was still amazing. He fiercely stomped on the ground and the amazing momentum pushed him to the side. However, although he was fast, Yi Tianyun was faster. Break! Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold and he slashed down. The sword Qi cut through Ming Chen's shoulder, broke the solid dragon scales, and cut off his entire left arm. Blood gushed out like a fountain. Damn it! Ming Chen's face was pale and showed a bit of pain. After possessing the body of the Netherworld Great Emperor, the pain of the injury was naturally transferred to his soul. Immediately, the Netherworld pearl in his head quickly gushed out a light and began to heal the injury. In the blink of an eye, the bleeding stopped. But it was not as heaven-defying as before, when the arm would grow out. The Netherworld pearl could at most heal the wound, but the broken arm was not so easy to recover. Split it. Yi Tianyun did not stop attacking. He immediately released his doppelgangers. 3 doppelgangers immediately emerged from the side, holding the Heavenly Dragon Divine Sword in their hands, so as to not let Ming Chen escape. Ming Chen's face suddenly changed. He did not expect that Yi Tianyun would have such an abnormal move. How could he have doppelgangers? Yi Tianyun would not let go of the opportunity to chase and attack fiercely. This was a chance to take his life when he was down. Yi Tianyun chased after him at an even faster speed, flanking him and slashing down with their Heavenly Dragon Divine Swords. The doppelganger's power was weaker, but Yi Tianyun's goal was to stop him from escaping, not to kill him. The doppelganger's power was not enough to kill him. Go to hell! Ming Chen roared, and the Netherworld pearl in his head flashed with a blue light. Then, it flew out of his mouth, and a crazy Netherworld fire was released from the Netherworld pearl. The endless Netherworld fire swept in all directions and instantly engulfed the 3 doppelgangers. Before the 3 clones could even get close to him, they had already been burned to ashes, leaving not even a bit of residue. The Netherworld fire swallowed Yi Tianyun along with the Netherworld fire. The terrifying Netherworld fire invaded Yi Tianyun's body crazily, wreaking havoc in his body. In the blink of an eye, the surface of his body was charred. The flames of the Netherworld pearl were quite terrifying. They were much stronger than the Netherworld fire that he had released before. They were on a completely different level. Yi Tianyun quickly retreated from the Netherworld fire. His body was burned to ashes, which showed the power of the Netherworld fire. What a strong flame! It's not on the same level as the one released before. Yi Tianyun's heart trembled. Just the impact just now was already as high as 270 million battle power. If not for his amazing defense, he would have been burned to ashes. Then, he quickly mobilized the immortal fire in his body to drive out the Netherworld fire that had invaded his body. Originally, he could completely suppress the immortal fire, but this time, it was much more difficult to expel the Netherworld fire. Fortunately, with a little time, he could expel the Netherworld fire, but the inside of his body had been burned. He took out a recovery pill, stuffed it into his mouth and began to recover. His eyes were fixed on Ming Chen, who was surrounded by the Netherworld fire, and he did not dare to go any closer. With the appraisal eye, the status of the flame was refreshed, high-grade Earth-level Netherworld fire. Sure enough, no wonder its power has increased so much. Even if it is not as rare as the immortal fire, it can still suppress the immortal fire. This is just like water restrains fire. If the amount of fire far exceeds the amount of water, it can easily boil the water. After a moment, the Netherworld fire was retracted. Ming Chen looked at him coldly. His broken arm did not grow back, and his face was pale. I didn't expect you to have such power. I underestimated you. Ming Chen clenched the Netherworld Divine Sword and looked at him coldly. A little worm can force me to this point, it's really embarrassing. If I were here, you would just be an ant, and I could crush you easily. But it's all over now. No matter how strong you are, can you be stronger than my Netherworld Pearl? The Netherworld Pearl floated in front of him, flashing a strange flame. As long as he could continue to release the Netherworld fire, he would not be able to kill Ming Chen. But correspondingly, if he killed Ming Chen, the Netherworld Pearl would belong to him. This was a divine artifact, and a good one at that. Yi Tianyun adjusted the spiritual power in his body. He had to admit that the current situation was quite serious. Ming Chen was really powerful. In a situation where Ming Chen's cultivation was far higher than his, and he had so many treasures, it would be difficult to deal with him. What's wrong? Are you so scared that you can't speak? Ming Chen sneered. Don't worry, the pain will soon be over. Then you will see your family and friends, and they will accompany you to hell. As soon as he finished speaking, the Netherworld Pearl that was floating in front of Ming Chen flashed crazily. Then, 3 Netherworld dragons that were condensed from the Netherworld fire came roaring toward him. Ming Chen was surrounded from all directions and had no way to escape. They had completely locked his aura. Each Netherworld dragon contained a terrible Netherworld fire, and even if he used the sky-devouring divine art, he could not absorb this terrible fire. This was already beyond his peak level, so how could he absorb it? Yi Tianyun stood in the same place, motionless, waiting for the Netherworld dragons to rush towards him, as if he had given up struggling. Have you given up struggling? This is what you should do when you know your limits. No matter how hard you struggle, it's futile. Ming Chen's expression was ferocious, and he could foresee that Yi Tianyun would be burned to ashes. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed when the Abyss Dragon pounced on him, and he instantly disappeared in place. The aura of the 3-headed Abyss Dragon completely disappeared, and the attack lost its target and direction. What? He disappeared? Ming Chen was shocked. While he was still in shock, a sense of danger came from behind him, causing him to quickly rush forward to avoid the attack. But it was still too late. A sword slashed at his waist, and the sword light shook the air, making a buzzing sound, and then a light cut through Ming Chen's waist. Chapter 447. The Heavenly Dragon Divine Sword slashed across Ming Chen's body, and the extremely sharp sword light turned into a thin line, from his waist to the side, and when it came into contact with the fire of the Netherworld, it cut the fire of the Netherworld into 2. Ming Chen's eyes widened, and when he tried to look at his body, his upper body and lower body were separated, and a large amount of blood spurted out from his waist, and he fell to the ground. Without half of his body, he could not move at all. Let's die together. A cruel smile appeared on Ming Chen's face. Under his command, the 3 nether dragons behind him roared, and even the nether pearl released the nether fire, crazily engulfing Ming Chen's group. This time, the flames were terrifying enough. It was as if all the flames within the nether pearl had been released. It was as if the nether pearl had truly gone mad. It crazily shot out in all directions, and more of them appeared. Several nether dragons rushed out, one after another, as if there was no end to them. After rushing out, they all rushed towards Yi Tianyun. In front of him, dozens of nether dragons surrounded him, and one by one, they were gnawing at him. This time, he really could not escape. Teleportation was still in cooldown, and he could not teleport away like before. He had not used teleportation before, mainly because he wanted to escape. The effect of a sneak attack might be more obvious, but it was perfect for escaping. Now, the best proof was that what he was worried about had finally happened, and he was trapped in a dead end, unable to escape. Danger, danger, danger. Life is in danger. The system warned frantically, which meant that the attacks that Yi Tianyun was facing had exceeded his limit, and if he continued to resist, the result would be death. I didn't want to use it, but it seems that I have to use it in the end. A divine rune appeared in Yi Tianyun's hand, and this was the Heaven and Earth divine rune that Yi Qingxian had given him before. This divine rune could increase his strength by 5 times, and he had used most of his blood essence to carve it. Perhaps the strengthened blood jade could help him recover, but the replenishment of his blood essence would still cause some damage to his soul. Therefore, he did not dare to use it casually. Although it could replenish his blood essence, the damage to his soul was not so easy to heal. Otherwise, he would have asked Yi Qingxian to carve a few more divine runes for him, and it would definitely be a trump card. Now, the situation was urgent, and if he did not use it, he would die. Of course, he still had 3 lives in his inventory, but they were even more precious. Who knew if he would receive more lives in the future? If he lost them, it would be such a waste. The most important thing was that after he resurrected, he would be surrounded by a sea of fire, and he might die a second time. The best way was to fight back and suppress the nether pearl was to kill him. Fire, fire, divine rune. Yi Tianyun put the heaven and earth divine rune on his body, and the blood essence on the divine rune paper quickly penetrated into his body and fused with the blood essence in his body. Divine rune, divine runes, divine rune. On top of the original 16 times crazy mode, the effect was increased by 5 times, reaching 21 times the power. A 21 times increase in power meant that on top of his base of 15 million, it would directly explode 315 million. This was just the most basic damage bonus. There were still many things that hadn't been added: weapons, dragon god bloodline, and so on. Berserk mode and heaven and earth god sigil would not stack with the damage of the weapon. Otherwise, it would be terrifying. Now, even without these effects, it had already reached 315 million. After adding weapons and dragon god bloodline, the final combat power reached 360 million. But it was not over yet. He gripped the heavenly dragon celestial sword tightly in his hand. His eyes flickered, and a shadow began to appear behind him. After breaking through to the void spirit stage, each cultivator would awaken their own void spirit force, and what he awakened was himself. The shadow that appeared behind him was not a dragon god, nor was it a sky dragon, but Yi Tianyun himself. A gigantic figure of himself that had been magnified more than 10 times was gripping the heavenly dragon divine sword tightly with him, ready to attack. Holding the sword in his hand, it was as if he was holding the entire world in his hand, releasing an imposing aura that looked down on the world. One sword shatters the heavens. He fiercely swung forward, and the phantom image that appeared behind him also fiercely swung forward. The enlarged heavenly dragon divine sword also slashed out. The incomparably thick sword radiance slashed in all directions, and the entire secret chamber was shrouded by this sword radiance. At this moment, his combat power soared to 400 million, an extremely terrifying number. Even a divine artifact would have to surrender in front of him. Boom, boom, boom. The terrifying sword light shattered all the nether dragons that pounced on him, turning them into countless blue starlight drifting around. They were completely cut into powder by this sword light, without exception. When Ming Chen saw this scene, he looked at Yi Tianyun in disbelief. He didn't expect that even after releasing all the energy in the Netherworld Pearl, he still couldn't cause any damage to Yi Tianyun. How was this possible? When he wanted to say something, it was too late. The sword light had already shrouded him and completely crushed his body into pieces. He didn't even have time to scream before he was completely dead. The remaining sword light blasted on the solid wall, and the whole earth trembled. Shi Xueyun and others above could clearly feel the violent vibration coming from under their feet. Tianyun. Shi Xueyun's eyes were full of worry. She didn't want to see Yi Tianyun meet with any mishap. If she could, she didn't want to carry out that plan, which would make her stay in pain for the rest of her life. Other people's eyes were also full of worry, but many of them started to clear the Netherworld Imperial capital before Yi Tianyun came out. They didn't really want to stay here all the time. There were still many scourges that had not been eliminated. What they needed to do was to flatten the Netherworld Imperial capital, not to occupy it. They didn't want the Netherworld Imperial capital, but to enforce justice on behalf of heaven and eradicate this scourge. However, when they sensed the violent tremors, they all stopped. They were extremely worried. They didn't know if they should go down to check the situation, or if Yi Tianyun was seriously injured and needed their help. Old ancestor. They all looked at the old ancestor of the spirit race, waiting for his instructions. Chapter 448. The old ancestor of the spirit race didn't know what was going on, so he sent someone to check it out. The old ancestor of the spirit race was the first one to go down. His cultivation was at the void spirit stage, so it was safe for him to go down. I will go with you. Ren Long stood up and said. The old ancestor wanted to say something, but when he saw Ren Long's determined eyes, he didn't say anything. Obviously, no matter how he tried to stop him, Ren Long would never listen to him. Old ancestor, I also want to go down with you. Yes. We also want to go down and see the situation of the young lord. They shouted one by one. They didn't want to stay up there, they all wanted to go down and see the situation of Yi Tianyun with their own eyes. That's enough. We will go down together. If there is any danger, how can we protect you? The old ancestor said in a deep voice. I believe the Spirit King knows what you are thinking, but now is not the time to be emotional. Just stay up there. Shi Shuiyun opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but in the end, she clenched her small fists and didn't say anything. Her cultivation was too low, even if she was the palace lord, she couldn't go down there. Otherwise, she would become a burden. At her age, her cultivation was not low. She should belong to the ranks of geniuses, but her cultivation was too low. She would become a burden if she went down there. She knew the problem, so she didn't say that she wanted to go down, but she wanted to see the situation more than anyone else. Hearing the words of the old ancestor, everyone calmed down and didn't fight to go down. They could only stay up there and wait for the final result. The spirit race old ancestor and Ren Long nodded. The two of them came to the passageway behind the dragon throne and began to walk down. The netherworld flame that came at them made them quickly use their spiritual power to resist it. Although the netherworld great formation was broken, there were still many netherworld fire here. Those with low cultivation still couldn't go down. We just came down and it's already difficult to go down. Fortunately, we didn't let them come down. The old ancestor said in a deep voice. Yes, the power of the netherworld's fire is amazing. Without the cultivation of core transformation stage, it's impossible to resist it. Ren Long nodded. He also felt that this place was very dangerous. They carefully walked down, and when they were about to reach the bottom, another explosion came from inside, causing them to retreat quickly. Their hearts tightened. Did Yi Tianyun really meet with misfortune? After the spiritual power fluctuations inside had calmed down, they continued to walk forward. What they saw was a sea of fire. There was a deep ravine on the surrounding walls, as if it had been slashed by something sharp. At this moment, they saw a familiar figure standing at the side, holding a long sword in his hand, his eyes filled with killing intent as he looked forward. This person was Yi Tianyun, who had come down a while ago. His body was charred black, and he looked a little ragged, but overall, he seemed to be fine. Apart from him, there was no one else around. At most, there was a large pool of blood on the ground and pieces of corpses scattered all over the ground. It looked quite disgusting. Spirit King, Brother Yi. When the two of them saw that Yi Tianyun was fine, they were overjoyed, but just when they wanted to go over to him, Yi Tianyun quickly reached out and stopped them. Don't rush over, the netherworld's fire here will hurt you. Wait for me to clear this place first. Yi Tianyun just killed Siming Chen, and then they came down. At this time, a pleasant voice sounded in their ears. Ding. Successfully killed Netherworld Great Emperor. Reward, 90 million EXP, 10. 000 CPS, 10. 000 SPS. Obtained Martial Art Netherworld Divine Art, Netherworld Divine Palm, Netherworld Burning Body Secret Art, Netherworld Dragon Possession. Items obtained, Soul of the Nether, Rare, Nether Divine Sword, High-Grade Saint Artifact, Nether Armor, High-Grade Saint Artifact, Nether Boots, High-Grade Saint Artifact, Nether Fire, Mid-Grade Earth-Grade Flay. Ding. Congratulations on killing an enemy above your level. Reward, 100 million EXP, 10. 000 CPS, 10. 000 SPS, 1 Super Enhanced Lottery Roulette Ticket. The reward was amazing. With 16 times the express, Yi Tianyun got a total of 90 million EXP. It means that his base value is 5 million, which is a lot more than Void Spirit stage. Sure enough, the EXP is a qualitative leap. However, the reward for killing the unknown soul didn't appear. Is there no reward for dying? Yi Tianyun looked up and saw a small ball of light flying towards the Netherworld Pearl. Its speed was not fast nor slow, and it looked quite weak. Ming Chen's soul was at the 8th level of the core transformation stage, and it was about to collapse. Sure enough, he's not dead. Yi Tianyun quickly rushed over, reached out his hand and pinched the light in his hand, and used his spiritual power to lock the light in his hand. You want to leave? Yi Tianyun looked at the soul in his hand coldly. If he let the soul escape into the netherworld pearl, it would be troublesome. Let me go. Ming Chen's soul struggled, trying to break free from Yi Tianyun's hand, but how could such a weak soul break free? Let you go. Do you think I will let you go? Yi Tianyun said calmly. I will give you a chance to let me go. Otherwise, I will bring strong cultivators to destroy your force. Ming Chen threatened Yi Tianyun. This is just a part of my soul. If I kill it, my real body will definitely know about it. Then you will die. Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes and looked at Ming Chen. Ming Chen was right. Ming Chen's soul was only a small part of his soul, so if Yi Tianyun killed him, his real body would definitely know about it. Then you will send a large group of strong cultivators to destroy us? Yi Tianyun said calmly. Yes. The power of our God nation is not something you can imagine. If my power was at its peak, do you think you could hurt me with just that? Even though Ming Chen was caught by Yi Tianyun, he was still very arrogant. So I advise you to let me go, otherwise, I will make you beg for death. Oh, what if I let you go? Yi Tianyun said calmly. If you let me go, I will consider sparing your life. Ming Chen said solemnly. Is that so? Thank you very much. At this time, Yi Tianyun grabbed Ming Chen's soul and squeezed it fiercely. Under the violent pressure, Ming Chen's soul was immediately deformed. Ming Chen was so scared that he shouted, You! What are you doing? You will spare my life, but I will not spare yours. Besides, do you think I can trust your words? Yi Tianyun sneered. I am afraid that you will find an opportunity to possess me. Immediately, he increased his strength, and Ming Chen's soul was about to be crushed. Just as he was about to explode, Ming Chen let out an unwilling roar. I won't let you off. I will bring my people to flatten you and kill you. Bang! Ming Chen's soul was completely crushed. It turned into light spots and fell to the ground. Chapter 449. Ding! Successfully hit Ming Chen's soul. Reward, 120 million EXP, 12,000 crazy point, 15,000 SPS reward, Netherworld Divine Art, Netherworld Divine Palm, Netherworld Burning Body Secret Art, Netherworld Dragon Possession. Reward, Netherworld Treasure Map, Rare, Netherworld Secret Order, Rare, Netherworld Astrolabe, Rare. After killing Ming Chen, Yi Tianyun noticed that a lot of things dropped. Although he didn't drop any equipment, the things that dropped seemed to be more important than the equipment. It's a pity that no divine tool dropped. It can only be said that the probability is too low. You won't let me go. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. Even if I let you live, I don't think my situation will be any better, right? Of course, Ming Chen's words can't be trusted. The force that he built up was destroyed just like that. How can he not take revenge? Moreover, such a sinister and cunning guy is courting death if he let him live. Yi Tianyun didn't expect that after overthrowing the Netherworld Empire, he would attract a stronger enemy, and that is the Divine Nation. Of course, no matter what, the Divine Nation is controlling everything behind the scenes. If he doesn't kill them, the Divine Nation will do the same. The law of the jungle is fully displayed here. If you don't have the strength, it's useless to hide in a corner. Yi Tianyun will never regret what he did. No matter how many enemies come, he will kill them all and turn them into EXP to level up. Soon after, he focused his gaze on the Netherworld Pearl. After losing its master, it fell from the sky and landed on the ground. It rolled a few times before landing at the side. From a distance, it looks like a beautiful pearl. It's much smaller than the Heavenly Dragon secret treasure. It's the size of an ordinary pearl. If he didn't know, he would think that it's just a black pearl. But when he investigated it, he found out that it's a divine tool. This was a divine artifact, something that all empires and forces yearned for even in their dreams. However, it was simply too rare, and the difficulty of obtaining it was simply too high. The Netherworld Empire had the Netherworld Pearl, but theoretically, it didn't belong to the Netherworld Great Emperor, so he could only control a small part of its power. If he had released such a terrifying Netherworld flame from the very beginning, he would have been seriously injured. He walked over and picked it up. Since it no longer had an owner, it had become an ownerless item. He made a small cut on his finger, and a drop of blood dripped onto the Netherworld Pearl, which was quickly absorbed by it. Ren Long and the patriarch of the spirit tribe were watching from the side, but they didn't dare to walk over. They could feel that the Netherworld flames around them were quite terrifying. If they weren't careful, they would be burned to ashes. This Netherworld fire was not the Netherworld fire that the Netherworld Emperor had absorbed before, but the high-grade Netherworld fire released by Ming Chen. Its power was at the Spirit King stage, and it was impossible for them to resist it. Fortunately, he was not successfully possessed. Otherwise, this area would have definitely turned into a purgatory. Bear. Suddenly, the Netherworld Pearl released a terrifying flame that swept towards him. In an instant, it enveloped his arm and quickly seeped into his body. Yi Tianyun's expression didn't change. He knew that this was the process of owner recognition. But after a moment, the Netherworld fire returned to the Netherworld Pearl, which meant that the owner recognition had failed. Owner recognition failed. Now that I think about it, I need to use the Netherworld fire. Without the Netherworld fire, I'm afraid that I won't be able to control it. Then, Yi Tianyun equipped the Netherworld fire. This was the treasure that the Netherworld Emperor had dropped. After equipping it, he would immediately use the Netherworld fire. Again, Yi Tianyun activated the Netherworld Pearl again, and the Netherworld fire swallowed the Netherworld Pearl crazily. Soon, the Netherworld Pearl merged with the Netherworld fire in his body. After the merging was successful, the energy between the two was instantly connected, and the entire Netherworld Pearl blossomed with a ghostly blue light. Very good, the owner recognition is successful. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. This divine artifact was immediately under his control. If not for the Netherworld fire, he really wouldn't be able to control the Netherworld Pearl. There were very few people here who could control the Netherworld fire. Even if they could, the grade of the Netherworld fire might not be high enough, so the difficulty was not small. After successfully controlling the Netherworld Pearl, Yi Tianyun quickly raised his hand and extended it towards the Netherworld fire. He said in a deep voice, "Store it for me." Immediately, the Netherworld Pearl blossomed with a dazzling light, attracting the surrounding Netherworld fire. The Netherworld fire continuously flowed into the pearl and was completely stored. The Netherworld Pearl had the effect of producing the Netherworld fire, but it was still relatively slow. Being able to store it was the best thing that could happen. The Netherworld fire was something that existed in the world. It was not something that was born. Instead, it was something that was forcefully absorbed after birth. Only then could one refine the Netherworld fire. There weren't many cultivators who possessed a heavenly flame. It should be said that it was relatively rare, especially for high-grade flames. Very quickly, the scattered Netherworld fire was absorbed by the Netherworld Pearl. Aside from the Netherworld fire that came out from the passageway, the rest of the Netherworld fire was stored in the Netherworld Pearl. Not bad. In the future, I will be able to use the Netherworld fire. One more flame means one more power. The Netherworld fire was not an evil flame. It was a flame that came from the world. Evil did not lie in the flame, but in the human heart. Spirit King, what treasure is this? It can absorb so much Netherworld fire. The spirit race's old ancestor walked over and looked curiously at the Netherworld Pearl in Yi Tianyun's hand. This is my spoil of war. It is the spoil of war from killing the Netherworld Emperor. It is a divine artifact. Yi Tianyun did not hide anything. There was no need to hide anything. These were all trustworthy people. You really killed the Netherworld Emperor, and obtained a divine artifact. Spirit King, you are really amazing. The spirit race's old ancestor exclaimed in admiration. The people above were worried that something might have happened to you. Now it seems that our Spirit King is really amazing. Yes, Brother Yi is really amazing. Our Heavenly Dragon Empire has made a big profit by making you a king. Ren Long laughed happily, but soon his face sank. The Netherworld Emperor has been killed. The rest of the matters can be solved easily. I will immediately send people over to completely eradicate the evil forces in the capital of the Netherworld Empire. From now on, there will be no Netherworld Empire. Yes. From now on, there will be no Netherworld Empire. Chapter 450. Ren Long and the spirit race old ancestor were very excited, but Yi Tianyun looked at them and shook his head. Spirit King, what's wrong? They all felt that there was something wrong with Yi Tianyun. The Netherworld Great Emperor was killed, so why was he still frowning as if he was worried about something? Actually, things are far from over. The Netherworld Great Emperor and the Netherworld Empire have been taken care of, but we have provoked a divine nation. Yi Tianyun said solemnly. Divine nation. They shouted in horror. They had heard of the divine nation before, but they had never seen it before. They were not in the same area, so they certainly didn't know what was going on. However, even if they hadn't seen it before, they had heard about the power of the divine nation. Rumor had it that void spirit experts were everywhere, and the environment there was like a paradise for cultivation. The resources there were far more than the area they were in, and only there were amazing divine tools. It was said that the divine tools here were all from the divine nation. Otherwise, how could they forge divine tools with their level? Immediately, Yi Tianyun told them the general situation, and their faces became even more ugly after listening to it. The situation was really not as simple as they thought. This is a serious matter. Let's go back now and report this matter to the entire Heavenly Clouds Mansion so that they know what to do next. But only the elders should know about it, and the disciples should not know about it for the time being. Yi Tianyun said solemnly. I agree with the Spirit King on this point. It will make the disciples panic, and it will be bad for their cultivation. The spirit race old ancestor said. Well, let's go up now and tell them that we are safe. Yi Tianyun smiled. He knew that many people were worried about his situation. They all nodded and walked upstairs together. Before leaving, Yi Tianyun also took a look at this place. After everything is over, he will come back here again. His goal was very simple. He simply wanted to absorb the Netherworld flames here. That way, the Netherworld Pearl would be able to become even more powerful. When everyone saw that Yi Tianyun was safe and sound, they immediately cheered excitedly. When they found out that the Netherworld Great Emperor was killed, they cheered even louder, their voices resounding through the clouds. The Heavenly Clouds Mansion overthrew the Netherworld Empire, so how could they not be excited? I knew you would come back safely. Shishueyun smiled. Yi Tianyun smiled as well. He understood everything without saying a word. Things came to an end soon. What was left was to clean up the entire Netherworld Emperor's capital, get rid of some remnants, and suppress some more important cities. This was left to Spirit Sect and the others. It was not difficult. As long as Big Head died, the rest would be much easier. Especially when Yi Tianyun sent the Black Dragon and the Red Dragon to attack the city, nothing was a problem. With the help of the Heavenly Dragon Empire, it wouldn't be difficult for them to destroy the Netherworld Empire. But before that, Yi Tianyun gathered all the elders and retold the story again. The originally excited crowd felt as if a large basin of cold water had been poured over them. It was so cold that their hearts trembled. They were prepared to face a divine nation, which made them feel a little desperate. That's roughly what happened. We don't know how the divine nation force will come down. We don't even know how to get there. Yi Tianyun glanced at the crowd and saw their worried expression, and continued to say, but you don't have to worry so much. They would rather use the rise of a force to occupy this place than to come down themselves. It proves that it is not easy to come down here, or there is some kind of agreement. They don't dare to come down here at will. So, we don't have to worry about a large-scale attack. What we need to guard against is the arrival of a few experts. We can't resist a divine nation at the moment, but I believe that given enough time, we can even deal with a divine nation. Yi Tianyun said in a sonorous tone. The Netherworld Empire, an empire that was said to be invincible, was defeated by us. So, I believe that even if it is a divine nation, we can still resist. As long as they dare to attack us, we will dare to fight back. Yi Tianyun's words made everyone's heart beat faster. Originally, they couldn't even deal with a third-grade force, but now, They have overthrown several third-grade forces and even crushed the divine nation force. As long as they have enough time, they can really resist a divine nation's attack. The Palace Lord is right, we need to be confident. Moreover, as long as the Palace Lord is here, we don't have to worry. Yes, we are not afraid of them. At worst, we will die. I would rather die standing than live kneeling. That's right, our spirit race has been suppressed and robbed for a long time. We have had enough of it. So what if it is a divine nation? No matter how many people come, I will be the first to fight. We will die anyway. Their emotions were quickly aroused, and they were no longer afraid of the pressure of a divine nation. In any case, it was the same when they faced the Netherworld Empire. If it wasn't for Yi Tianyun who saved them, they would have died a long time ago. So what if they come to a divine nation? At worst, they will die. At least, it is better than being imprisoned in a cage like a beast. One by one, they stood up to support Yi Tianyun's decision. No one opposed it, which is enough to show that his prestige is extremely high. Don't worry, I don't need to worry about the divine nation. Yi Tianyun said. I just want to say that no matter how many people come, I will kill them all. Good. They all cheered and worshipped Yi Tianyun blindly. After making things clear, Yi Tianyun let them continue to clean up the remnants of the Netherworld Empire. If Yi Tianyun came alone, it would take a lot of effort. Everyone quickly dispersed and went about their own business. It didn't matter when the divine nation would attack, at least the Netherworld Empire must be eradicated now. Soon, only Yi Tianyun and Shishuayun were left in the room. They haven't been together for a long time. Aunt, I got into trouble again. Yi Tianyun scratched his head in embarrassment. Don't you know how many troubles you have caused? Shishuayun smiled and couldn't help but reach out to hit him, but she slowly retracted her hand, looking at him with her beautiful eyes and said, no matter what you do, I will support you. All I can do is wait for you to come back. Chapter 451. When Shishuayun turned around and was about to leave, a big hand gently hugged her waist and pulled her into a warm embrace. Silly aunt, what are you thinking about? How could Yi Tianyun not know what Shishuayun was thinking about? She had thought about this before, but she couldn't help and could only watch from the side. Her mood was imaginable. Although he comforted her a lot, it couldn't make up for the anxiety in her heart. Tianyun, I feel that I can't keep up with your pace. Shishuayun sighed. This. Yi Tianyun didn't know how to answer. Who could keep up with his pace? Even if his cultivation was higher than his at the beginning, he would soon surpass him. This was the benefit of leveling up. There was no bottleneck. After a crazy killing or a wave of alchemy, he could successfully level up. If the time was short, he could level up in a month or even a few days. Who could compare with him? Actually, my thinking is very simple. I just want to help. I just want to see your situation more closely. Shishuayun said softly. When you were fighting down there, we didn't even have the qualification to go down. I felt very sad. If something bad happened to you, I wouldn't even have the qualification to see you for the last time. Her smile was full of bitterness. She knew that she couldn't keep up with Yi Tianyun, but she didn't even have the qualification to get close to him. This was the most sad thing for her. Yi Tianyun held her hand tightly. He could feel the trembling in Shishuayun's heart, which was expressed in her small hand. That's why every time I come back, the first thing I look for is you. Have you forgotten? Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. He knew that he couldn't help Shishuayun improve her cultivation by leaps and bounds. He had given her everything he could, such as alchemy and martial arts. He had given a lot of them to Shishuayun. Shishuayun had already broken through very quickly. It could be said that she was a monster, but the time was still too short for her to successfully break through to a good realm. Shishuayun was startled. Her mind slowly calmed down. Thinking about it carefully, it was indeed so. No matter what he went to do, when he returned, Yi Tianyun would always be the first to see her, just to ensure her safety. There are very few people who can fight side by side with me, but the first person I came back to see is you. Yi Tianyun whispered in her ear. Tianyun. Shishuayun gently leaned on his shoulder. Her mind gradually became empty. She didn't want to say anything. She just wanted to lie quietly for a while. Yi Tianyun leaned back slightly. In fact, there was no place to sit behind him, but he used his spiritual power to make him float, as if he was sitting on a bed. He let Shi Shuayun lie gently in his arms and enjoy the peace. There wasn't much contact, just a heart-to-heart talk. Yi Tianyun didn't know how much he could comfort Shi Shuayun, but he knew that Shi Shuayun definitely wouldn't stop here. She would continue to cultivate and break through. One day, she would stand behind him and help him. Shi Shuayun wasn't the only one who had this idea. Yi Yuwei, Zhu Lingyun, and the others also had the same idea, but they couldn't do it. Therefore, the only thing they could do was to carefully manage the Heavenly Clouds mansion and do what they could to the best of their ability. Yi Tianyun didn't ask them to rush up crazily. It was too difficult. Only the monster among the monsters could catch up with him. After the intimate moment, those who had to leave still had to leave. Shi Shuayun still had to go to Heavenly Jade Sect. The battle was still going on, and all aspects of the cleanup were still in progress. Yi Tianyun also went to help. Some of the cities that were more difficult to clean up were personally handled by him. Everything went very smoothly. The entire Netherworld continent fell into a bloody massacre. Those who surrendered didn't die, and those who resisted were killed. Those who surrendered didn't become slaves. As long as they weren't very close to the Netherworld Empire or had a position, they would choose to leave. It would be too cruel to kill every single one of them. Most of them just wanted to come here to cultivate. Therefore, after knowing that the Netherworld Imperial capital had fallen, many cultivators quickly evacuated. They knew that if they didn't leave, they would be the ones to die. All of a sudden, most of the cultivators in the cities were empty. There weren't many people in the cities, so the cleanup process would be much easier. Finally, after a few weeks of battle, there was only one city left. This city had gathered all the elite generals and ministers of the Netherworld Empire, and they were unwilling to surrender. "We will never surrender. If you want to kill us, then kill us. Yes. We will live and die with the Netherworld Empire. We will fight to the last man before we surrender. If you want to fight, then fight." They shouted loudly, not afraid of Yi Tianyun at all. "It seems like you still have some hope for the Netherworld Empire. Do you think that there will be a strong expert coming to save you?" Yi Tianyun looked at them and said indifferently, "The Netherworld Emperor and the Imperial Preceptor are both dead. Do you really think that they are still alive?" Yi Tianyun's words made them fall into silence. Although the Netherworld Empire had fallen, they still believed that the Netherworld Emperor was still alive. After all, no one saw the Netherworld Great Emperor die with their own eyes. They felt that he might be hiding somewhere in seclusion. "Since you are so stubborn, then all of you will disappear from this world." Yi Tianyun waved his hand and said in a deep voice, "All of you, attack." The two dragons rushed towards the Netherworld Empire. Both of them had broken through to the Void Spirit stage when they were slaughtering the city. Now, as long as the enemy wasn't a 5th or 6th layer Void Spirit stage expert, they could easily deal with them. Boom! Along with a loud sound, the massacre began. Yi Tianyun didn't have the slightest bit of mercy in his heart. For a moment, the entire city turned into a sea of fire. Many people began to beg for mercy. "We were wrong. We surrender. We surrender. They instigated us to do this. We surrender." Yes. They said that the Netherworld Emperor is still alive. "As long as we hold on for a while, we will surrender." It hadn't been long since they started fighting, but their hearts immediately collapsed. It should be said that they had completely collapsed when they saw the two giant dragons. Especially that black dragon. Wasn't that the black dragon rumored to have destroyed the Netherworld prison and killed a few generals? When they thought about it, the courage in their hearts instantly collapsed. You only have one chance. If you make the wrong choice, there will be no other choice. Yi Tianyun's eyes were expressionless as he allowed his dragons to slaughter the city. The others also joined the battle and started killing indiscriminately. Perhaps it was a bit bloody, but compared to their madness, Yi Tianyun's actions were nothing. Chapter 452. Under Yi Tianyun's command, everyone rushed forward and continued to kill. For a time, the place was filled with screams and howls. No matter how much they begged for help or mercy, it was useless. No one would be soft-hearted towards them, because they had killed even more people when they were alive, and they had even slaughtered many spirit race beings. Under such circumstances, who would be merciful? Many times, they needed to be responsible for what they did. This time, it didn't take too long to suppress all of them. From now on, the Netherworld Empire would no longer exist in the Netherworld Empire. Ding! You have completed the main mission: enforce justice on behalf of heaven, destroy the Netherworld Empire, and kill the Netherworld Great Emperor. Reward: 500 million EXP, 5 million Crazy Point, 500. 000 Proficiency, distribute it anywhere, 500. 000 Sin Point, and get the title Punish the Evil. Congratulations to player Yi Tianyun for successfully breaking through to 4th level Void Spirit stage. Successfully accepted main quest: establish the Heavenly Clouds Empire. Reward: 2 billion EXP, 20 million Crazy Point, 2 million Proficiency, distribute it anywhere, 2 million Sin Point, and get the title I Am the Great Emperor. Completion requirement: 2/10 Void Spirit Stage Experts, 8/50 Core Transformation Stage Experts, and build their own Imperial Capital. Note: cultivators who meet the requirements must have a favorability level of 200 and above. Pets are excluded. Sure enough, as soon as the main quest was completed, a new main quest appeared in front of Yi Tianyun. The difficulty of this main quest was very high. Wasn't this requirement a bit too high? Even the Heavenly Dragon Empire didn't have that many Void Spirit Stage Experts. But now, he needed 10 Core Transformation Stage Experts, 50 Core Transformation Stage Experts, and 500 Spirit Core Expert. This required a lot of resources to slowly nurture. It should be said that it would take a long time to nurture so many forces. Unless he merged the Heavenly Dragon Empire, the difficulty would be reduced a lot. In terms of favorability, he could only slowly nurture it. This was still quite difficult. The key thing was that the pet was not counted. That would be ridiculous. He now has a total of 3 Void Spirit Stage pets, 2 Giant Dragons and the first Snow Wolf. This makes 3 Void Spirit Stage Experts. Who would have thought that the Void Spirit Stage Experts were not here? This was a huge loss. This could only be put aside for the time being. What was needed was time, and no main quest could be completed immediately. The system simply wanted him to gradually become a powerful force, or else he would never be able to complete the main quest. Without the main quest, it would be difficult. Speaking of which, what is this title? Yi Tianyun checked the title he had obtained, and the detailed information immediately appeared before his eyes. Punishing the Wicked, 500 prestige points. The effect was not bad, and the increase in reputation was not unexpected. However, it was at least better than the title of the Empire's Guardian God, because the Empire's Guardian God increased his defense by 5 times. This sounded pretty good, but it was only effective in the Heavenly Dragon Imperial Capital. After leaving, it would no longer be effective. After everything was settled, everyone gathered again and began to report their spoils of war. These were all things that belonged to powerful sects. Of course, they had to calculate it carefully. The Battle Wolf Squad has obtained 30 soul armaments, 50 pills, 10 Earth tier martial arts, and a human tier martial art. The Heavenly Wolf Squad obtained 27 soul tools, 58 medicinal pills, 8 Earth level martial arts, human level martial arts. The Heavenly Wind Squad obtained soul tools. One by one, the representatives reported their spoils of war. In order to move more conveniently, they formed their own teams. After all, the Nether Continent was so vast, it would be a waste of time if they fought together. Each team was led by a core transformation stage expert, so there was no need to worry about a counterattack. Yi Tianyun listened and nodded. These were good resources. It was impossible for him to obtain all the resources alone, so he had to rely on the spoils of war obtained by everyone to make up for the internal consumption. If he had to rely on himself, wouldn't he die of exhaustion? He had never seen a sect master of any sect handle everything personally. Otherwise, why would they need so many elders and subordinates? Would they just stay in the sect and eat and drink? After all, everyone looked at Yi Tianyun with a serious expression, waiting for Yi Tianyun to speak. Now that he had become the mansion lord, he was everyone's backbone. Well done, you did a good job, Yi Tianyun said with a satisfied smile. These spoils of war belong to each of your teams. Make good use of these resources and make yourselves stronger. Thank you, Mansion Lord. They were all very happy, and they certainly hoped that this batch of resources would belong to them. Now that they got permission, they were very happy. The most important thing was that their subordinates fought so hard, and many of them were seriously injured. Giving them rewards was the best way to motivate them. Yi Tianyun naturally knew this, and he knew that rewards and punishments were the most important thing. By the way, now that we have overthrown the Netherworld Empire, why don't we establish the Heavenly Clouds Empire? With the strength of our Mansion Lord, he is definitely qualified to become a great emperor. This is exactly what I was thinking. Our strength is already very strong, and we can establish an empire force. I suggest that we establish an imperial capital, and we can basically start to build a stronger force. Yes, Mansion Lord is so powerful, there is no problem for him to become a great emperor. One by one, the elders were excited. This was something that they had never thought about before. If they wanted to become an empire force, they needed to be strong. Now it seemed that there was no problem. Even the Netherworld Empire was overthrown, so why couldn't they become an empire force? This time, everyone's eyes were focused on Yi Tianyun, and they wanted to hear what Yi Tianyun had to say. The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. I don't know if you have heard of this sentence. Yi Tianyun said with a faint smile. We have heard of it, but the Netherworld Empire is the second largest empire force, and we overthrew it. There is no doubt that we are qualified to become an empire force, one of the elders said. Overall, our foundation is a lot worse than the Netherworld Empire, but we believe that we have the ability to establish an empire. I also agree with this point. With the strength and influence of the Spirit King, it is enough to establish an empire force. Spirit Race Old Ancestor said with a smile. In terms of foundation, it is indeed a little worse, but I don't think that the foundation of the Spirit Sect is worse than the other empires. Everyone's eyes lit up. In fact, the foundation of the Empyrean Pole Sect and the Spirit Sect was not bad. They had many strong cultivators, and they had accumulated a lot of martial arts and divine runes. Chapter 453. One by one, they looked at Yi Tianyun with fiery eyes. They all wanted to get the clearest answer from him. If he said that he didn't want to establish an empire for the time being, then they would definitely put it aside for the time being. They would listen to Yi Tianyun's instructions, and they wouldn't refute him. They were just making suggestions, and if there was no other way, they could only choose to give up. They didn't know that Yi Tianyun was already thinking about this. Now, the establishment of an empire didn't conflict with the main quest at all. The main quest could only be considered completed if he achieved this goal. In reality, establishing an empire didn't require such harsh conditions. 3 very strong forces, coupled with Yi Tianyun's powerful strength, were enough to establish an empire. Especially Ren Long, as the strongest ally, would definitely help them in the future. It was completely the right time and place. Establishing the Heavenly Clouds Empire wasn't a problem, the only thing it needed was time. Establishing an empire required the establishment of an imperial capital, followed by the establishment of other cities around the continent, forming a large-scale force plate. This required a lot of cultivators to achieve this step, otherwise, there would be no manpower to manage it at all. Now that Heavenly Clouds Mansion had a lot of manpower, they could still manage many cities. As long as there was a core elder in charge, there wouldn't be any problem. As for other cultivators, as long as the city was prosperous enough and not dangerous enough, there would still be a lot of cultivators moving over. Then from these cultivators, some would be selected to join the Heavenly Clouds Empire to strengthen their own forces. Everything had to be built bit by bit, and it took an amazing amount of time. It was like building a house, it had to be built 1 brick at a time, and it couldn't be built in a day. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, "That's not a problem. Let's choose the location of the Nether Continent. From now on, it will no longer be called Nether Continent, but Heavenly Cloud Continent." Yi Tianyun was also very excited. It was quite exciting to be able to reach this step and establish his own empire. Previously, Heavenly Jade Sect and Heaven's Top Mansion didn't belong to him in theory. Now, Heavenly Cloud's empire was the real force that belonged to him. Many elders showed surprise in their eyes, and one by one, they stood up and shouted heroically, "Yes, we have the same idea. We will rename this netherworld continent to Heavenly Clouds Continent. We believe that under the leadership of Mansion Master, no, under the leadership of Heavenly Clouds Great Emperor, we will definitely reach the most glorious moment. Haha, how can the spirit race's spirit king be bad?" The spirit race's old ancestor laughed loudly. For a time, in this hall, everyone was excited, and they were ready to create an empire. Previously, no one dared to think about it, but now, they were preparing to create it. How could they not be excited? At that time, an entire continent would be under their control. Just thinking about it made him excited. Most of them think that Yi Tianyun should go higher and get the glory that belongs to Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun shook his old ancestor said, "Yi. S1, 121, and 1211. Yun 11121111. Yi Tianyun shook his head with a smile and said, "I don't know much about this. I will leave everything to you. I don't know how to manage these things." He really didn't know much about this. Just thinking about it gave him a headache. If he was asked to arrange everything, his head would definitely explode. "Just leave this to us. We can't fight in the front with Mansion Master, but we can arrange everything in the back and manage everything properly." Yi Yue, Yi Qingxian, and the others stood up. One by one, the women stood up. They are also good at managing their forces. When Yi Tianyun asked them to come back, it was because of this that Yi Tianyun looked for them. "And us, we are not good at fighting, but we can still protect the sect." Yang Yu and the others stood up one after another. For example, Xu Fei and the others stood up. They were all very grateful to Yi Tianyun for his help. Of course, they would do their best to help. "Thank you all. Let me be a Mansion Master who doesn't have to do anything." Yi Tianyun was very happy. Even if he wasn't here, they could manage everything properly. "No, Mansion Master has worked hard. It's all thanks to you that we can come this far and live here peacefully." They all shook their heads. They all agreed that Yi Tianyun had it even harder. He had to fight against countless experts. They knew that this was the most terrifying thing, especially when they faced the Netherworld Great Emperor. They felt that death was so close. But Yi Tianyun left without hesitation. This was what they admired the most. They felt that Yi Tianyun was qualified to lead them. Only he could make them work for him loyally. Yi Tianyun smiled. He didn't say anything. There was no need to say anything else. It was enough for them to understand each other's hearts. Soon, they were busy preparing to build the imperial capital. There were more things to do. But they didn't feel tired at all. Instead, they felt excited. They wanted to bring glory to Yi Tianyun. "Brother Yi, the people you raised are very good. They are all loyal and devoted." Ren Long envied Yi Tianyun. "It's okay. They are willing to believe in me." Yi Tianyun smiled. "No matter what, the Heavenly Dragon Empire will need your help in the future." Ren Long looked around, and when he saw that there was no one around, he whispered, "I feel that you can also take over the Heavenly Dragon Empire. This, if your father comes back, won't he skin you alive?" Yi Tianyun was speechless. "Prime Minister Long is a traitor. If it weren't for you, Heavenly Dragon Empire would have already been destroyed." Ren Long snorted coldly. He felt very unhappy. "Let's talk about this later." Yi Tianyun didn't want to get involved in these things for the time being. There were too many things to manage. "That's fine. I think my little sister will also be happy to help. Think about it." Ren Long patted Yi Tianyun's shoulder and smiled. "I have nothing to do here. I will take my leave now." Yi Tianyun was going to leave Heavenly Dragon Empire. He still had a lot of things to do. "Thank you, Brother Ren." After Yi Tianyun said goodbye to Ren Long, his eyes flashed. He thought about the situation in the secret room. For him, it was a good place to gain experience. He couldn't waste it. Chapter 454. Yi Tianyun quickly went to the passage full of netherworld fire. There were many guards here, and when they saw him coming, they quickly nodded. Although the netherworld imperial capital was cleaned up, many buildings here were still preserved. With a little repair, they can be used. Although this place will not be used as the imperial capital, it is still good to use it as a city. Therefore, guards were sent here to protect it, so as not to be destroyed by other rogue cultivators. Some rogue cultivators, in order to look for things, will destroy everywhere to see what they can find. So as long as they can protect some buildings, they can quickly complete the establishment of a city. As for the imperial capital, this location is chosen by the spirit race old ancestor. With his level of divine rune grandmaster, choosing the imperial capital will not be a problem. Immediately, Yi Tianyun went down. The situation below has not changed, it is still the same. But the netherworld fire is more than before, piled up in this secret room, everywhere is filled with netherworld fire. GGG, at this time, the little phoenix in the pet bar rushed out, completely out of his control, and flew outside. Then it began to eat the netherworld fire. After eating, it showed an intoxicated expression. It seems that it likes eating the netherworld fire very much. You little phoenix, you ran out without permission. Yi Tianyun smiled and shook his head. In a sense, the little phoenix is not his own pet. If he uses his capture skill, it can become his pet, but he did not do so. It is precisely because of this that the little phoenix cannot get experience to quickly level up. However, the little phoenix ran out at this time. To a large extent, when there is no one around, it dared to run out of the pet bar to eat the netherworld fire. The little phoenix ignored Yi Tianyun and kept eating the netherworld fire, as if it has not eaten for a long time. This can't be blamed on Yi Tianyun for not giving it anything to eat. Yi Tianyun often gave it medicinal pills to eat, otherwise, the little phoenix's cultivation would not have broken through to the spirit refinement realm. This breakthrough speed is still very fast. His appearance had also grown bigger, and he was much stronger than before. Obviously, it met something it likes very much, so it rushed out to eat. Then you can slowly eat on the side. I'll clean up this place first. Yi Tianyun took out the netherworld pearl and quickly absorbed the surrounding netherworld fire into the netherworld pearl, leaving only a small area for the little phoenix to eat. GGG. The little phoenix raised its head and looked over, seemingly very dissatisfied with what Yi Tianyun had done. Although it couldn't eat so much for the time being, it still felt very dissatisfied when it saw Yi Tianyun taking away so much at once. Yo, you're getting arrogant. I'm just collecting them. When you want to eat them, just tell me. I can take them out for you to eat. Yi Tianyun didn't expect this little phoenix to have such a temper after growing up. When little phoenix heard Yi Tianyun's words, he became well behaved and continued to eat the netherworld's fire, ignoring him. Yi Tianyun let it eat on the side while he went to the deep pit in the center. The netherworld flames were continuously emitted from here. After cleaning up the netherworld's fire outside, the netherworld's fire that was emitted from here quickly filled up this place. This secret room was equivalent to a storage room. After filling up the netherworld's fire, through the netherworld array, it could be used for cultivation. The effect was similar to the netherworld pearl, but it wasn't as convenient as the netherworld pearl. This is really strange. How can there be a continuous flow of netherworld's fire? Yi Tianyun felt very curious, but he didn't care about it. He took out the netherworld pearl and began to crazily absorb the netherworld's fire in this big hole. But just the netherworld pearl alone couldn't quickly absorb all the netherworld's fire, so he used the devouring heaven divine technique and began to absorb the netherworld's fire. After absorbing it, it didn't turn into experience, but the netherworld's fire's experience. This was similar to the inextinguishable flame, constantly increasing the netherworld's fire's experience and increasing the netherworld's fire's grade. It was just that his netherworld's fire was currently at the middle grade earth grade, so he needed to absorb a lot of netherworld's fire to be able to level up. Anyway, he had a lot of time, and there weren't any enemies to talk about, so he could absorb the netherworld's fire to his heart's content. As time passed, he didn't know how much he had absorbed. Whether it was himself or the netherworld pearl, they both absorbed a lot of netherworld's fire. Daddy, I'm hungry. At this time, a tender voice came from behind, causing Yi Tianyun to hurriedly turn his head. He was shocked. The person who appeared in front of him was actually a little girl, around 8 or 9 years old. She wasn't wearing anything, which gave him a shock. What's going on? What, Daddy? Yi Tianyun sized her up. Previously, He had been focused on absorbing the netherworld's fire, and he didn't even know that someone was approaching him. He was really careless. "Daddy, I'm hungry." The little girl stretched out her hand and shook his shoulder, pouting her pink lips in dissatisfaction. "What, Daddy? You're that little phoenix?" Yi Tianyun was stunned. Wasn't the little phoenix just growing bigger? How did it turn into a girl? "Daddy, don't tell me you don't recognize me." The little girl looked at him with dissatisfaction, opened her mouth and said, "I'm hungry, I want to eat this." She pointed at the netherworld's fire, wanting to eat this. "You really are that little phoenix." When he carefully observed, he found that there were some phoenix feathers on this little girl's body, especially on her arms. There really were phoenix feathers. If it wasn't for this, he would really think that she was a lost girl who ran down from above. However, there were many guards up there, so how could a little girl run down? Immediately, he took out a set of clothes. Originally, he was going to wear it himself, but after cutting it a little, he let the little phoenix wear it. It just didn't look very fitting, but at least she wasn't naked anymore. "Daddy, this thing is not very comfortable, I don't want to wear this." The little phoenix frowned and said unhappily, "Just wear it, or else I won't give you the netherworld's fire to eat." Yi Tianyun threatened. "I want to eat, I want to eat." The little phoenix hurriedly shouted. "All right, here you go." Yi Tianyun took out a ball of netherworld's fire and placed it to the side, forming a small area where the netherworld's fire would not hurt her. After the little phoenix saw it, her clear eyes lit up, opened her mouth and sucked the netherworld's fire into her body, as if she was eating something, swallowing it mouthful by mouthful. After swallowing, her face was full of happiness, as if she had eaten something delicious. After having the netherworld's fire, she no longer cared about Yi Tianyun's situation, and continued to eat. Chapter 455. After a while, the little phoenix ate the netherworld fire and said to Yi Tianyun, "Daddy, I want to eat more." "That's fast." Yi Tianyun was surprised. He gave a lot of food, he didn't eat so fast before, but now he ate it all in a short time. He didn't even have time to think about it, he already ate it all. Immediately, he pointed to the big hole and said, "Then let's eat the flames here together. You can eat as much as you can, don't overdo it, understand?" "Yes, Daddy." Little Phoenix looked at the netherworld fire that was continuously coming out from this big hole and its eyes lit up. It opened its mouth and sucked the netherworld fire up. Then it used its little hands to grab it and ate it mouthful by mouthful, as if it was eating a fruit. Worthy of the Phoenix clan, her resistance to fire is quite strong, and she can also grow by swallowing the flames. She has now rushed from the spirit refinement realm to the core condensation realm. This growth speed is too amazing, even more amazing than his cultivation speed. But thanks to the netherworld fire, she can break through so fast. If he can turn this into experience, and his cultivation is also relatively low, he can also level up very fast. The netherworld fire here is not low grade, absorbing it is equivalent to a lot of experience. How can it not level up quickly? The same is true for the little phoenix, it is using this point to break through quickly. Seeing that the little phoenix is not in any big trouble, Yi Tianyun also swallowed the netherworld fire next to her. The netherworld fire in this big hole seems to be endless, so he can absorb it freely. Both of them began to crazily swallow the netherworld fire with their greatest strength. The speed is getting faster and faster, and finally the netherworld fire that emerged is not as fast as the two of them. Then even the flame began to disappear. It can only slowly rush up here. According to this situation, the speed of swallowing has slowed down a lot, which is a bit of a waste of time. Now there is nothing to do, but it does not mean that they can sit here and wait for the netherworld fire to slowly absorb it. "Daddy, the flame is gone." The little phoenix's breakthrough speed has dropped significantly, but she still feels very hungry, unable to fill her stomach. "Okay, then let's go down directly." Yi Tianyun immediately decided to fly down with little phoenix. Descending to absorb was the best way, and at the same time, to see what was going on below. Very quickly, he carried the little phoenix and jumped into the big hole. After sliding down for a distance, he then saw the netherworld fire. They immediately began to devour, one faster than the other. It was as if they had encountered sweet dew after a long time, greedily absorbing it. However, it was quickly swallowed up again. They continued to descend. Anyway, Flying was prohibited here, so he was not worried that they would not be able to come up. As they quickly moved downwards, they absorbed even more netherworld flames. When they fell down, they quickly entered an empty space. After they landed, Yi Qianyun was shocked by the scene in front of him, but his first action was to grab little Phoenix's head and press it into his arms. "Don't look, without my order, don't look over, understand?" His tone was very strict, and the originally mischievous little Phoenix really calmed down, burying her little head in his arms, and did not turn her head to look. Yi Qianyun flew in the air, the netherworld pearl in his hand constantly devoured the surrounding netherworld fire, but his heart was now completely cold, without the slightest bit of excitement. Because in front of him was a large pile of bones. Endless bones. It was unknown how many bones were piled up here. It was simply like a mountain, piled up here. The netherworld fire came from here, and then constantly surged up, providing them with more netherworld fire. Now he knew where the netherworld fire came from. It was born from countless corpses. The netherworld fire's source appeared in cold places, and when the corpses were burned, it was easier for the netherworld fire to appear. This was just like a wronged spirit, floating out from the corpses. The mountain of bones here was undoubtedly the netherworld emperor's. He ordered people to catch a bunch of cultivators, and then throw them into this big hole, turning them into fuel for the netherworld fire, turning them into the flames for their cultivation. Thinking of the netherworld prison, it seemed like everything was clear. The two formed a complementary effect. Constantly capturing people, those who resisted would be thrown in here, turning them into the netherworld fire's nutrients. This was really ruthless. As expected, an empire must be built on a pile of corpses. Other than a pile of bones, there was nothing else, and the only thing left was the netherworld fire. Because there were no fresh corpses added, the netherworld fire's production speed became slower, which was the reason why their absorption speed far exceeded their release speed. Now it seemed like the netherworld fire was almost gone, only a small part was left. "Rest in peace, everyone." Yi Qianyun took a deep breath, and a shadow appeared behind him. It was him. The huge shadow waved his palm, and a huge palm print covered the wall. With a hong sound, the hard wall collapsed, covering the pair of corpses. He did not care how many treasures were buried here. After he finished absorbing the netherworld fire, he planned to destroy this place, cover it with the soil, and make it their grave, so that they could rest in peace here. Originally he did not want to absorb the netherworld fire, but after seeing the truth, he no longer had any interest in absorbing it. Just that if he did not absorb it, it would be very difficult to extinguish the netherworld fire, and it would continue to burn. This was not the result he wanted to see. Boom boom boom. Palm after palm bombarded the hard wall. Although it was very hard, under his violent power, it still collapsed. Very quickly, the surrounding stone walls collapsed, burying the corpses. Yi Qianyun quickly flew out, and continued to attack the tunnel, causing it to collapse. After flying out, he fiercely slammed down, completely collapsing the place. After flying out, he continued to destroy the secret room. He did not plan to stay. When they returned to the surface, many guards looked over in shock. The ground had been shaking crazily since the beginning, and they had no idea what was going on. The key point was, why did their palace lord bring a little girl up here? Yi Qianyun did not answer them. He took out a stone tablet from the side, and carved a line of words on it, Tomb of the Innocent. There was also a small line of words on the side, Netherworld Empire has been destroyed, please rest in peace, Qianyun respectfully. Chapter 456. When the system's voice rang out, a ray of light was released from where the stone tablet stood and shot up into the sky. However, this light was quite gentle and not very dazzling. It looked like it was ascending to the sky, but there was no soul to be seen. It was just a ray of light that shot up into the sky like a rainbow. It was as if she was thanking him, but also bidding him farewell. The surrounding guards looked up at the sky and were very surprised by this scene. It looked like some kind of treasure had appeared. In fact, there was no treasure to be seen. They only saw a ray of light being released from a tombstone. It looked very strange. After a while, the light completely disappeared and everything returned to normal. There was no change from before. Seeing this miraculous light disappear, Yi Qianyun was a little surprised. He didn't expect that his unintentional action would earn him a special title, Soul Ferryman. Soul Ferryman. Title obtained by ferrying vengeful spirits. Can expel all evil things. No evil things can easily get close to the body and can also be ferried. Also, can see vengeful spirits that ordinary people can't see. Ding. Because you have successfully ferried many vengeful spirits, you have received an additional special reward, soul guidance. It can guide you to any place, can be used for any mission or any treasure map. Soul guidance. Isn't this the same as finding the way? Yi Tianyun was stunned. He had dropped a lot of treasure maps of the netherworld. Just by looking at the treasure maps, he wouldn't know where it was at all. He could only find it by exploring step by step. This was like the coiling dragon treasure map. If he hadn't found the place of the coiling dragon, he really wouldn't know how to get there. Now that he had this soul guidance, it was different. It could guide him at will, but it was limited and could only be used once. However, he didn't ask for anything extra. It was already quite a pleasant surprise. If that's the case, I can. Yi Tianyun looked down at the little phoenix who was holding his hand. He can help complete the side quest and get the support of the little phoenix, which will undoubtedly make his empire more stable. Before, he didn't know where the phoenix nest was. But with this soul guidance, it was different. He could easily find the phoenix nest. Daddy, what was that light just now? It looked so beautiful. Little phoenix withdrew his gaze and smiled sweetly. That's the light of release. Yi Tianyun sighed as he felt that it was the right choice to eradicate the Netherworld Empire. He felt that it was the right choice to eradicate the Netherworld Empire. If the Netherworld Empire was allowed to continue to develop, there would be more and more corpses in this pit. Just thinking about it was terrifying. The degree of their ruthlessness was not something that ordinary people could imagine. Daddy. When the surrounding guards heard this form of address, they were all stunned. Their prefecture lord was already their father. They had never heard of this before. This was a big deal. Yi Tianyun ignored their gazes and flew towards the heavenly cloud shrine with little phoenix. The matter here had been settled, it was time to go back and see the situation. Soon, Yi Tianyun returned to the heavenly cloud shrine with little phoenix. As soon as he returned, a guard greeted him and said, "Prefecture Lord, the spirit race's old ancestor told me that if you return, please go and see him. He has something to discuss with you." Understood. Yi Tianyun nodded his head and walked inside with little phoenix. Along the way, Yi Tianyun held little phoenix's hand and walked inside. The surrounding guards looked at each other and wondered why the prefecture lord brought back a child. In the past, he would occasionally bring back some people, but this time, he brought back a child. "Daddy, where is this place? It looks so beautiful." Little Phoenix looked around curiously. She was very curious about this unknown world. Little Phoenix had been staying in the pet pen before, so she didn't know the situation outside. "This is my residence. You can also live here in the future." Yi Tianyun smiled and said. Not long after he walked inside, he happened to meet Yi Yue and the others. When they saw Yi Tianyun coming over with a child, their beautiful eyes suddenly lit up. "Prefecture Lord, why did you bring back a little girl? She looks so cute, let me hug her." Yi Yue came over to hug him, but little Phoenix hid behind Yi Tianyun, stared at her and said, "Don't come over, I won't let you hug me. Just let me hug you. I'll take you to eat delicious food." Yi Yue began to tempt. "No, no. I only want to be with Daddy." Little Phoenix completely rejected the outside world. "Daddy? He's your daddy?" Yi Yue pointed at Yi Tianyun and said in amazement. "Yes, he's my daddy." Little Phoenix tightly pulled Yi Tianyun's arm. "Prefecture Lord. I always thought you were alone, I didn't expect you to have a child outside." Yi Yue was shocked and took a few steps back, shocked by the news. "Ahem. Don't talk nonsense, it's a long story." Yi Tianyun felt helpless, this title was indeed very misleading. At this time, Shishuayun walked out, and when she saw little Phoenix, she also asked curiously, "Tianyun, where did you kidnap such a cute little girl this time? Usually, I thought you brought back some cultivators, but this time you didn't even let go of a little girl." Shishuayun looked at him strangely. When little Phoenix saw Shishuayun, his eyes lit up, and he actually rushed over and shouted, "Mother, what? Everyone who passed by was stunned. Didn't they say that palace lords couldn't have Taoist partners? This was not the key point. It seemed that this child was with Yi Tianyun, and if they looked carefully, it really seemed that there was some resemblance to Shi Xueyun. You child, what nonsense are you talking about? Shi Xueyun's pretty face blushed, frightened by this title. This is the smell of mother. I smelled it on daddy. Little Phoenix smiled brightly and said, I'm sure I'm not mistaken. Yi Tianyun was very embarrassed. He still had Shi Xueyun's smell on him. He didn't expect Little Phoenix to judge that it was his mother. Wasn't this memory a bit messed up? All of a sudden, the place exploded, and many people were dumbfounded. This was big news, and many people couldn't accept it for a while. They knew that Yi Tianyun and Shi Xueyun had a good relationship. It was not a big deal if they were really together. After all, they didn't have any blood relationship. It was not a big deal to become Taoist partners. But suddenly a child came out. This was really a bit too sudden. Misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. Chapter 457. All of them were shocked by Little Phoenix's words and didn't know what to say. Could it be that Yi Tianyun and Shi Xueyun were having an affair in private? But this was not right. They were in love with each other, so there was no need to worry. Could it be the identity of the palace lord? This was a dead rule that could be removed at any time. There was nothing that couldn't be changed. It was said that the palace lord didn't have a Dao companion. This was the result of the original palace lord's resentment towards the old ancestor, so he announced this rule. People were alive, but rules were dead. It was not a problem to change it at will. But now there was such a change, it was really surprising. They didn't know what to say. Seeing this scene, they were a little embarrassed. Could it be that they wanted them to recognize each other? This is really a misunderstanding. Yi Tianyun smiled bitterly. Tianyun, what is going on? You have to explain. Shi Xueyun didn't know what to say. Suddenly being hugged and called mother, anyone would feel shocked. This is a long story. Before things get out of hand, I'll tell you first. Yi Tianyun brought them to one of the conference rooms and then told them the general situation and confessed the identity of Little Phoenix. There was nothing he couldn't confess. Everyone present was his acquaintance, so they would never betray him. After knowing the real situation, their expressions were even more colorful. They didn't expect this little girl to be a phoenix. Yi Tianyun slightly opened her clothes, revealing a little phoenix feather. He looked up at everyone innocently and said, See, when I found this little phoenix, it was still very small. Who knew that after eating too much netherworld fire, it became like this, and even called me father. So it was like this. They suddenly understood, but their hearts were still very shocked. They didn't expect a living phoenix to appear in front of them, and even turned into a human. Yang you can call me father in the future, but don't call her mother, okay? Yi Tianyun taught Yang He didn't know the name of Little Phoenix, but he knew that when Fire Phoenix entrusted Little Phoenix to him, she called her Yang No. The one who refuted was not Yang but Shi Xueyun. She grabbed Yang and glared at him. She can call me whatever she wants, there's no need to correct her. She looks cute, so I'll take her as my goddaughter. What's wrong with that? This. Yi Tianyun smiled bitterly. He was not afraid of being misunderstood. If they mistakenly thought that she was their daughter, it would be troublesome. He thought for a moment, then nodded and said, Well, this needs to be explained. Don't expose Yang identity. Just say that I brought her back from the outside, and I've accepted her as my goddaughter. Only then did Shi Xueyun nod in satisfaction, her expression full of joy. Yi Yue and the others all looked at him enviously. After understanding the situation, they heaved a sigh of relief. At least it wasn't that sudden. After they left, Yi Tianyun whispered in Shi Xueyun's ear, If you want to give birth to one, we'll give birth to one after some time, okay? As soon as these words came out, Shi Xueyun's ears turned red. She didn't expect Yi Tianyun to say such bold words. She couldn't help but push him. What nonsense are you talking about? I'll take Yang to play first. After saying that, she walked out with Yang Godmother will take you to eat delicious food, okay? Okay. Yang immediately followed, without the slightest feeling of rejection. Yi Tianyun touched his nose and looked at the back of the two girls. He smiled and said, "You belong to me." Shueyun had long been deeply rooted in his heart, and no one could replace her. After everything was over, he must make Shueyun his Tao companion. He had this idea for a long time, and it hadn't changed until now. They weren't related by blood at all, and they got along so well with each other. The burning passion in his heart was about to explode. If it weren't for the fact that he had so many things to do, he would have been with Shueyun a long time ago. He was now waiting for the establishment of the Heavenly Clouds Empire to be completed, and then he would officially announce Shueyun as the Divine Lady to manage the Heavenly Clouds Empire with her. Immediately, he went to look for the Spirit Race Old Ancestor alone, and he found that the Spirit Race Old Ancestor was looking at something on the map. When he saw Yi Tianyun, he smiled and said, "Spirit King, you are here. I have selected a few places for the imperial capital. You can come and have a look." Yi Tianyun walked over and looked at the map for a while. He quickly locked on to one of the places and said, "Let's do it here. It's located in the center. I also think this is a good place. At present, it seems that this is the best place. There is a spiritual vein underground, and it can be used to build the Imperial Defense Great Array." The Spirit Race Old Ancestor nodded. He already had a goal in mind, but he knew that Yi Tianyun was the one who decided the location of the imperial capital, so he had to wait for him to come back. "Then let's choose this place. I don't know much about this, so I'll leave it to the old ancestor." Yi Tianyun glanced at it casually, and his eyes suddenly focused on one of the places on the map. He pointed at the map and said, "Is this the Netherworld Passage?" "Yes, this is the Netherworld Passage, a dangerous place in the Netherworld continent. It's similar to the Coiling Dragon Cave in the Heavenly Dragon Empire. Spirit King, do you want to build the imperial capital near this place?" "I can't do that. The surrounding environment is quite dangerous, and it's quite dangerous to build the imperial capital here." "No, I just remembered something," Yi Tianyun said. What he recalled was the two treasures that Prime Minister Long and Ming Chen had dropped, which made him lock onto this place. Netherworld Passage Map. Detailed information about the Netherworld Passage. Dangerous areas are marked. Recommended for Void Spirit Stage and above. Netherworld Treasure Map of the Netherworld. Only those who passed through the Netherworld Passage can use the Netherworld Passage. Recommended for Void Spirit Stage and above. Yi Tianyun had checked these two items before, but there was very little useful information. He didn't even know where the Netherworld Passage was, so how could he use it? "So there is a Netherworld Passage here. Does it lead to the Netherworld? Does this Netherworld Passage really lead to the Netherworld?" Yi Tianyun asked. "Rumor has it that some people went to explore it, but no one ever came back. It's much more dangerous than the Coiling Dragon Cave." The Spirit Race Old Ancestor said, "Spirit King, do you want to go there?" "Yes, I do." Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. He was more or less tempted by the Coiling Dragon treasure map. The things he obtained from the Coiling Dragon treasure map were good. Now that he urgently needed to become stronger, it would certainly be of great help to him. "Spirit King, I know that your cultivation is very strong now, but you have to be careful when going to these dangerous places. The backbone of our empire is you. If something bad happens to you, our empire will collapse." The Spirit Race Old Ancestor reminded. Chapter 458. The Spirit Race Old Ancestor did not try to persuade Yi Tianyun. He just smiled and said, "No matter what the Spirit King chooses, we will support you. We will take care of everything here. You can be at ease as the Spirit King." Yi Tianyun smiled. He needed this feeling, but Renlong could not do it. There were many talented people in the Heavenly Dragon Empire, but they were not as united as Yi Tianyun. Especially since he had been away for a few years, he had to stay in the Heavenly Dragon Empire. After choosing the area, Yi Tianyun basically has nothing to do, so he took advantage of the free time. Yi Tianyun came to the cultivation room and immediately opened the Super Enhanced Lottery Roulette. He won't waste the chance to draw the Super Enhanced Lottery Roulette. "Open for me." Yi Tianyun used this chance, and soon the lottery roulette began to spin rapidly. At the same time, he activated his luck aura, and his luck aura exploded all of a sudden. Yi Tianyun upgraded his luck aura once before, so his luck aura became even more amazing. With such a high luck points, he did not believe that he could not get a godly skill. He had not gotten a godly skill in this version, so he must try his best to see if he could get a godly skill. He had obtained a lot of godly skills, but who would complain about having too many godly skills? The more godly skills, the better. He would get as many as he could get. After using the lottery roulette, the enemy would definitely be killed. It must be a godly skill, it must be a godly skill, Yi Tianyun prayed in his heart. His luck points were so high, and he had such a powerful lucky halo. How could he not get a godly skill? Soon, the lottery roulette slowed down. In the end, the needle stopped at the special category, not the godly skill. I still can't get a godly skill. Yi Tianyun could not help but feel a little disappointed. It seemed that the godly skill was too difficult to get. Even if he had a good luck points, he would not be able to get a godly skill easily. As for how the enhanced lottery roulette worked, he wasn't too sure, but one thing was for sure. The higher the difficulty of the roulette, the lower the chances of getting a rare item. However, it was already quite good to be able to draw the second category of rare items. I wonder what it could be. Yi Tianyun was still a little excited. After all, these were the second rarest items. So far, he hadn't gotten anything bad, so he was still looking forward to it. Gulp! A small box fell into his inventory, and he excitedly opened it. Soon, a treasure appeared in front of him. Congratulations to player Yi Tianyun for successfully obtaining the rare item Phantom Cloak. Phantom Cloak, immune to all attacks within the Spirit King stage for 10 seconds. Cooldown, 2 hours. Good stuff. Yi Tianyun couldn't help but shout. This effect was the same as the Shadow Cloak from before, maybe even longer. The most important thing was that the resistance was greatly increased. The Shadow Cloak could only resist attacks within the core transformation stage, so this was undoubtedly a life-saving item. Sure enough, this kind of enhanced roulette is very good even if it's a consumable item. If it's given to him for the lottery, it doesn't matter, but if he bought it for the lottery, it's not worth it if he gets a consumable item. 2 million crazy points, it's not that easy to earn. With this treasure, it means that he will be safer, and he won't have any problem breaking into those dangerous places. This time, entering the Netherworld passage will undoubtedly be safer. Yi Tianyun nodded and walked out of the cultivation room. Soon, he found Shueyun. She was eating spirit fruits with Yang Er. Yang Er didn't refuse anything and ate quite happily. Seeing the situation of the two, Yi Tianyun smiled. They really look like mother and daughter. But when he saw Yang Er, his heart moved. Should I send Yang Er back to the phoenix nest first? First of all, this is a task. If completed, in addition to the good reward, he can also get the help of the phoenix. Thinking about it, it's better to do this first and put the Netherworld passage aside. After thinking about it, Yi Tianyun came to them and said, "Aunt, I plan to send her back to the phoenix nest first. Her mother entrusted me to send her back to the phoenix nest. Are you going to send her back?" Shueyun felt a little reluctant. She just accompanied her for a little while, and she still felt very reluctant to send her back. Yes, I have to complete the task given by others. Yi Tianyun made a vow before, so he still has to complete it. Even if it's not for the task, he still has to send Yang Er back to the phoenix nest. That is the best place for her to live. The outside world is not her real home. All right then. Shueyun sighed and immediately asked, "Do you know where the phoenix nest is?" "There shouldn't be a problem, I will come back soon." Yi Tianyun has the guidance of the soul, so he believes that finding the phoenix nest will not be a big problem. Without the guidance of the soul, he really has to think about the situation, whether or not he should send her back first. Now that he has the guidance of the soul, it's different. This way, he can quickly finish the task. Not only can he complete the task, but he can also complete the task. "Daddy, where are we going?" Yang Er kept stuffing spirit fruits into her mouth, unable to stop. "Home." Yi Tianyun looked at her and couldn't help but smile. She is simply a foodie. Home. Yang Er's clear eyes flashed a strange light, as if she was thinking of something, but she couldn't think of what it was. Every mythological beast will be injected with a certain amount of memory by their parents, and when they reach a certain age, it will officially open, So this word is quite touching in her heart, but she can't think of anything for a while. After dealing with some matters, Yi Tianyun did not delay and immediately flew out with Yang He doesn't know when Ming Chen's forces will attack, but what he needs to do now is to quickly complete the task and improve his own forces. However, before leaving, he left 2 dragons behind, and did not leave any pets behind, in order to protect the safety of this place. He is not here, but a bunch of pets are here. Resisting some strong enemies is not a problem. After flying with Yang he immediately used the guidance of the soul, and at the same time said, "Help me find the phoenix nest." With a buzzing sound, a ray of light enveloped him, and he immediately felt a pulling force that continuously pulled him forward. He immediately followed this feeling and flew forward. After flying for a long time, he saw a gloomy passageway surrounded by a pitch-black forest. It looked eerie and terrifying. From here, it can't be. Chapter 459. Just as he was about to say that if he missed this opportunity, he would send Yang back to the phoenix's nest and come back to investigate. He didn't expect that the way to the phoenix's nest was actually this netherworld passageway. This was strange. Could it be that the phoenix's nest was in the innermost depths? Yi Tianyun took out the netherworld passageway map. The general situation of the netherworld passageway was marked on the map. Although some were not recorded, most of it was on this side. If one looked closely, it was a straight line leading inside without any bends. Was this really easy to walk on? If one really thought that way, they would definitely die a terrible death. Because on this netherworld passageway map, there were several rather dangerous places that were specially marked in red, indicating that this place was very dangerous. But that was all. Other than that, there were no other details. It was very fake. It seemed useless, but it was still somewhat useful. At least one knew where the danger was and how to act. In general, there was only one path. However, one could use one's own ability to reasonably avoid it and reduce the degree of danger to the minimum. I didn't expect to come here in the end. It's completely along the way. Yi Tianyun looked around. It was pitch black all around, as if ink had been splashed. The entire area was dyed black, including the ground. Indistinctly, a wave of black gas emerged from the ground and gradually seeped over. However, just as it approached Yi Tianyun, it was dispersed. It had no effect on him at all. Yi Tianyun knew that it wasn't because his aura was too strong, but because he had the title of Soul Ferryman, which prevented these evil beings from invading him. Yang who was beside him, was different. The black gas gradually seeped in and drilled into her body. However, with a wave of her hand, a wave of phoenix fire emerged from her body and dispelled the black gas. "Daddy, what is this place? It looks very uncomfortable." Yang didn't feel afraid. She only felt that the invasion of the black gas made her very uncomfortable. "It's fine. It will pass soon." Yi Tianyun thought for a moment and said, "Yang don't resist later." "I will try." Yang didn't quite understand what Yi Tianyun was talking about. Yi Tianyun didn't answer. He just wanted to keep Yang in the pet space, which would undoubtedly be safer. However, when he tried to do so, he instantly sucked Yang in without any difficulty. "It's really done." Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. Previously, he had thought that it wouldn't work, but he didn't expect that he could still absorb it. It seemed like he had to try more sometimes. When he took Yang back, everything became much simpler. Yang cultivation was too low, so it wasn't suitable for her to stay in this place. If there was any danger, he wouldn't be able to take good care of it, so it would be best if he could keep it in the pet space. The pet bar was equivalent to a space. When Yang was kept in it, it wasn't that she couldn't move. She was just staying in a special space. Because Yang was alone inside, it was a bit boring. "Yang, you stay inside. Don't run out, understand?" Yi Tianyun comforted. "Wait until we leave this place, I will call you out." "Got it, father." Yang didn't make a fuss. She felt very uncomfortable coming out, so she didn't go out. However, Yi Tianyun used the netherworld pearl to give her a lot of netherworld fire and let her eat it slowly. This way, it wouldn't be too boring. Sure enough, when she obtained a lot of netherworld fire, Yang frowning eyebrows suddenly relaxed, and she wholeheartedly focused on eating. Yi Tianyun nodded in satisfaction. Yang Er's appetite was really big. It seemed that she couldn't fill it no matter what. He didn't know if all phoenixes were like this. After solving this matter, he looked at the situation in front of him again. After looking at it for a while, he lifted his feet and walked inside. Just as he walked in, the surrounding black gas invaded in this direction, but it was expelled outside. There was no problem at all. As long as it was an evil being, it could be expelled, saving him a lot of trouble. This netherworld passageway looks really gloomy and cold. I wonder what the situation will be like when it leads to the netherworld. Yi Tianyun had never been to the netherworld. It was very likely that Ming Chen came from the netherworld. At that time, it was possible that he would meet Ming Chen's divine nation forces. Before coming, he had a little understanding of the situation here. The netherworld passageway was a big danger zone. It was even more dangerous than the coiling dragon cave. It could be seen from the surrounding situation. There was not a single cultivator in the surroundings. Who would dare to come here? There was only one purpose for coming here, and that was to go to the netherworld. As for whether or not they successfully reached the netherworld, no one knew. However, one thing was very clear. Basically, there was no return. It was possible that they were very comfortable in the netherworld and did not choose to come back. It was also possible that they died in the netherworld. These were all possibilities. Rumor had it that the entire area was divided into 3 realms: Heaven Realm, Mortal Realm and Netherworld. Among them, the Divine Nation forces were divided into Heaven Realm and Netherworld. However, it was really difficult to define which side was good or bad. Because there were very few people who knew about the situation. At least Ming Chen was from the Netherworld. This gave Yi Tianyun a very bad impression of the Netherworld. Logically speaking, the phoenix nest should be in the Heaven Realm. However, the soul guidance led him to the Netherworld. This was a little strange. In any case, Yi Tianyun had already continued forward. He followed the traction and walked forward. As he went deeper, the surrounding black gas became more and more intense. More and more of it surged towards him. If he was completely invaded by this black gas, he would die. This was a corrosive black gas. Once completely invaded, he could only become the fertilizer here. Swish, swish, swish. Suddenly, there was a sound of something piercing through the air. Several sharp thorns stabbed towards him. Yi Tianyun had already sensed it. He quickly moved to the side and easily dodged the attack. When he looked up, he realized that it was not a cultivator who attacked him. It was the giant tree beside him. Several sharp branches were like sharp swords, stabbing towards him. If his cultivation was low, he would have already been pierced. Xiong. Yi Tianyun didn't hesitate to throw out immortal fire and instantly ignited the demon tree. As if it met its nemesis, the demon tree was quickly ignited. The dense branches twisted crazily and issued a strange squeak sound. In less than a moment, it completely turned into a pile of ashes. Ding successfully killed the demon tree. Reward: 36,000 EXP, 3,600 crazy point, 100 SPS obtained demon tree sap and demon tree leaves. Chapter 460. As soon as he came in, he was attacked by the demon tree. From the appearance, there was no difference, but when the demon tree suddenly attacked, those with low cultivation will die without a doubt. Not to say low cultivation, but at least spirit core realm was easily killed. This is the situation when he just came in. He doesn't know what will happen in front of him. This place is really strange. There are demon trees here. Yi Tianyun ignored these demon trees and continued to walk inside. Not long after he walked, several sharp branches attacked him, and then he threw a flame at them, easily killing the demon trees. They are all spirit core realm. The experience gained is not high, not low, for the past is very good, but for now, this experience is too little. He is too lazy to use crazy mode. Because it is not a big waste of crazy point. If it was before, it would be okay, but now, his crazy point is going to explode. Along the way, occasionally there are demon trees attacking him. The number is not many, but it is a sudden attack. This is really meaningless for him. His cultivation is still too low. He can easily kill them. This is the first danger point. It is marked on the map. As he continued to go deeper, He began to see some bones lying on the ground. Most of them were decayed, even the bones were gradually swallowed by the soil here, a little bit corroded, and then completely turned into fertilizer. After passing through this gloomy forest, a wide long river came into view. It looks very dark, like a river of ink. There are towering cliffs around, on top of which grow spirit grass and spirit flowers. Yi Qianyun glanced at it. The grade is not low. This is not the point. The point is that he can finally see people here. He saw a group of cultivators building their own boats, cutting down giant trees from the side, and then put together a boat. It seems that they are ready to cross the river. After building the boat, some began to climb up to the shore. They want to pick the spirit grass and spirit grass. 4th or 5th grade spirit grass and spirit flowers are still very attractive to them. Overall, most of the cultivators are core transformation realm. There are also some spirit core cultivators, but no void spirit cultivators. Core transformation realm cultivators can fly, but they can't fly here. Yi Qianyun can feel that this place is like Coiling Dragon Cave. Even if he wants to fly, he will be suppressed by a force. If they can fly, why would they build a boat? They would have already flown over. This place is really lively. Yi Qianyun glanced at them. They are divided into several teams. There are men and women. They are all cooperating with each other to build a boat. His appearance suddenly attracted a lot of attention. They are looking at him up and down. Some merely glanced at him and ignored him, while others looked at him a few more times, sizing him up from head to toe. No one knew what they were thinking. My name is Ren Liangchen. Brother, are you heading to the netherworld or are you here to pick some spiritual herbs? While some of them were sizing him up, some of them came up to him without hesitation. It was one of the few cultivators in the group who spoke. The other teams have 4 or 5 people, but they only have 3 people. It is a bit embarrassing. Go to the ghost world. Yi Qianyun looked at the middle-aged man who is at 3rd level core transformation realm. He doesn't know which sect he belongs to. Go to the ghost world. It just so happens that all of us are heading to the netherworld together. If I may be so bold as to ask, how high is your cultivation base? Ren Liangchen asked. They can't see through Yi Qianyun's cultivation, they just think that he is very young. Core transformation realm. Yi Qianyun answered. Brother Ren, do you think he is reliable? At this time, a sharp voice came from the side. A man in his 30s walked over and looked at Yi Qianyun coldly. Yi Qianyun looks too young. He gives people a very unreliable feeling. Although it was impossible to determine their appearance, there were some people with high cultivation who looked like youths. This was not unheard of. There were some people who looked like they were in their 20s, but in fact, they were already in their 30s or 40s. Not everyone could reach the core transformation stage in their 20s. It is the same for female cultivators. Even if they are in their 60s or 70s, they still look like they are in their 20s. However, looking young doesn't mean that you can live a long life. Once you reach the end of your life, no matter what you do, you will not be able to stop aging. You will become old quickly. It was one thing for women to deliberately make themselves young, but if men were to make themselves very young, it would make other cultivators feel disgusted. They would look like gigolos. This is why people think that he is not reliable. They don't know that this is his real age. However, since Yi Qianyun told him about his cultivation, Ren Liangchen nodded and felt satisfied. If you don't want it, we want it. Another middle-aged man smiled and walked over to Yi Qianyun. Brother, do you want to come with us? We are also going to the ghost world. Do you want to go together? Liu Long, what do you mean? Did I say I don't want it? Ren Liangchen frowned. He didn't even answer, but the other side came to take him away. Of course, he will not be happy. The netherworld passageway was extremely dangerous, and every extra person counted. Unless they were very close to each other, they would choose to form a team with a few more people. That way, it would be safer. You didn't say it, but the people in your team did. Liu Long smiled and said, Come with me, we welcome you very much. Yi Qianyun looked at Liu Long's team. There are a few spirit core stage cultivators here. Overall, their strength is not bad. However, there are too many people, so he prefers to act with fewer people. I don't mean to exclude this friend, I just want to know what Brother Ren thinks. Is there a problem? The cold-faced man was expressionless. It seems that he always has this kind of expression when he talks. Leng Hu, you're really cold. I advise you to change your temper a little. Otherwise, you won't even know what happened when you get killed outside. Liu Long glanced at him coldly and then looked at Yi Tianyun. He wanted to see what Yi Tianyun thought. Yi Tianyun looked at Leng Hu and said, "Thank you for your invitation, but I choose to join you." "Is that so? Then I wish you all the best." After seeing Yi Tianyun refuse him, Liu Long snorted coldly, no longer give him a good face, turned around and walked away. "Welcome, how should I address you?" Ren Liangchen asked with a smile. "I am Yi Tianyun." Yi Tianyun removed the word Tian. Although his name was not very famous, it was better to keep it a secret. "Oh, it's Brother Yi. This way please. We are still building the boat, so please wait for a while. Once it is done, we can set off." Ren Liangchen explained with a smile, "Leng Hu has always been like this. Don't be fooled by his attitude. He is still very caring. It's just that his tone is used to it." Yi Tianyun nodded and did not mind. He could obviously tell. He could tell how good their impression of him was at a glance. Among them, Leng Hu and Ren Liangchen's team had the least hostility towards him. The rest did not have any good impression of him, so he naturally would not choose to join them. Especially Liu Long, he did not have a good impression of him. It seemed that he had found so many people and did not reject anyone. Even so, he did not have a good impression of him. He felt that his smile was especially fake. Especially after the rejection, he caught the killing intent that flashed in his eyes. Chapter 461. Yi Tianyun's appearance didn't attract much attention. Only 2 teams invited him, and the rest ignored him. The other team's cultivation wasn't bad, and they seemed to be on the same side, so it was normal that they didn't invite him. Ren Liangchen's team was on the same side, but they didn't have enough people, so they wanted to invite someone. As for Liu Long's side, he didn't reject anyone. There were too many crooks mixed in with the honest folks. "Is there anything I can help you with?" Yi Tianyun was embarrassed to just stand there, so he wanted to see if there was anything he could help with. "Just stay there. Leave this to us. You only need to conserve your energy and be ready for battle when you head out. We don't need cowards here. If you're afraid of death, I advise you to leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, this river Styx will become your grave." Leng Hu's voice was still as cold as ever, without any emotion. This was advice, but more of it was the truth. It was just that the truth sounded a little harsh. No wonder people said that Leng Hu didn't know how to talk. His tone was harsh, as if he didn't like Ren Liangchen. "Leng Hu, don't be so blunt. Who doesn't know how dangerous this place is? Those with weak cultivation can't even enter the river, let alone come here. I think Brother Yi must have some ability." Ren Liangchen glared at him, signaling him to be more alert. It was easy to arouse disgust if Leng Hu kept being blunt. "Big Brother Ren, I'm just telling the truth. It's not like this hasn't happened before. They're all arrogant, but they don't even have the ability, and they only know how to harm others." Leng Hu didn't even buy his boss's words. He immediately turned his head to look at Yi Tianyun and said, "I hope you can be smart later, my words are just like that. I don't want you to be strong, but at least don't stab us in the back, and don't drag us down. This way, we can trust you with our backs. We've never been to this river Styx before, so we don't know how dangerous it is along the way. At least we know that we need to trust each other. I don't know which faction you're from, but if you join us, you'll have to put down your pride and listen to our instructions." Leng Hu continued to exhort Yi Tianyun. After he finished speaking, he threw a bottle of medicine to Yi Tianyun and said, "This is an antidote. It's specially made to counter the poison of the Styx river. As long as you come into contact with the water of the Styx river, you must immediately take this antidote. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable." Yi Tianyun took the detoxification pill and narrowed his eyes at Leng Hu. He didn't expect Leng Hu to have a sharp mouth but a soft heart. He had just joined the group, and he was already giving him all sorts of instructions. Yet, he was even giving him pills now. Clearly, he thought that he was a teammate now that he had joined the group, so he had to take good care of him. "Leng Hu is just like that, Brother Yi, don't mind him. The man who was building the boat smiled and said, I am Yangjiwen, their brother. We are going to explore the netherworld together. Staying here is too restrictive. He continued building the boat as he spoke. The boat they built was very simple. It was just a boat made of a few pieces of wood. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, Of course I know this. It's Brother Lung's kindness. I'm already very happy that you accepted me. Yi Tianyun wasn't the kind of person who didn't like to listen to harsh advice. Besides, what Lung Hu said was basically right. If he didn't listen to his orders, then the plan would be messed up. Brother Yi, it's good that you can accept it. Ren Liangchen smiled and immediately said in a low voice, Brother Yi, it's good that you didn't join Liu Long's side. Liu Long's reputation is very bad. He is sinister and often betrays his friends. The people over there didn't listen to us. It seems that they were bewitched by Liu Long. I guess Liu Long has too many enemies, so he had no choice but to go to the netherworld. Ren Liangchen shrugged helplessly. They had already tried to persuade them. If they didn't listen, then there was nothing they could do. Yi Tianyun nodded. It seemed that Liu Long gave him the same feeling. He felt that Liu Long was very hypocritical. Fortunately, he didn't join that side. Brother Ren, I have a question that I don't know if it's appropriate to ask, said Yi Tianyun after thinking for a while. It's fine. Ask away, said Ren Liangchen. Are you planning to go to the netherworld to develop? Is the restriction here so strict? Have you ever considered joining a major force or an empire? Asked Yi Tianyun. Oh, I see. We have all thought about it. There are indeed several imperial forces so far. For example, the newly emerged Heavenly Clouds Mansion. I heard that they are preparing to establish an empire. There are also other imperial forces. They are actually not bad, but we are all rogue cultivators. We don't like to join these forces because it's too restrictive. Otherwise, we wouldn't go to the netherworld at will. It's a dangerous place. We don't know where to go, so we just want to explore it. There are stronger forces and more resources in the netherworld. Big Brother Ren is right. The three of us are used to wandering outside, so we don't need to join any forces. If we join a force, will we go to the netherworld? Most of the people here are rogue cultivators who don't belong to any force, so they choose to go to the netherworld. Either that, or they're here to pick spiritual herbs, or they've provoked some sort of force, so they've fled to the netherworld to hide. Yang Jiwen interjected. Yi Tianyun nodded. What Ren Liangchen said was true. They either don't want to develop here, or they are hiding from their enemies. No wonder those people around him were so fierce. They didn't care about him at all. As long as it wasn't their enemy, they would be too lazy to do anything. Brother Yi, are you not a rogue cultivator? Asked Yang Jiwen. The other two looked at Yi Tianyun and asked for his opinion. I'm not a rogue cultivator, but I'm almost there. I plan to go to the netherworld to see the situation. Yi Tianyun smiled. It wasn't a lie. He was no different from a rogue cultivator now. They were all prefecture lords who didn't have to do anything. They looked at each other but didn't continue to ask questions. It was a private matter. Whether he was a rogue cultivator or not, it had nothing to do with them. They were just passing by and forming a team. Once they entered the netherworld, they would go their separate ways and would not have too many interactions. Soon, the boats were almost built. The others had also built their boats. They put them on the water and swam inside. Yi Tianyun also built a few boats at once. Everyone prepared a few boats and put them in their storage rings. Because they didn't know how dangerous the journey would be, they had to prepare a few more boats. Otherwise, if the boats broke down, they wouldn't be able to swim. The poison of the Netherworld River was too strong. People would die if they stayed in the water. Brother Yi, we are going in. Are you ready? Ren Liangchen looked serious. I'm ready. We can go at any time. Yi Tianyun nodded. Chapter 462. Soon, the four of them got on the raft and started rowing with a wooden plank. They moved forward at a moderate speed. At this moment, they seemed to have become ordinary people again. They had to row slowly. They didn't dare to row with their hands at all. Otherwise, they would be poisoned to death by the dark water before they reached the ghost world. Even in the process of rowing, There was black gas constantly released from the dark river, wrapping around them. Because of the effect of the title, Yi Tianyun could repel the black gas. The others just had to operate the spiritual power in their bodies to repel the black gas. Otherwise, if the black gas invaded their bodies, they would really die on the way to the ghost world. Yi Tianyun also got a wooden plank and rode with them. When he moved the dark water, he felt like he was moving a thick liquid. It was quite difficult to move. With his strength, it was still very easy. It was just that the others were rowing slowly, so he also slowed down. Otherwise, with his strength, he would definitely be much faster than now. As they rowed the boat, all of them wore solemn expressions as they looked around vigilantly, worried that some kind of attack would come. The outermost demon tree was quite dangerous, let alone the inside. Yi Tianyun looked at them. He originally wanted to ask why they didn't go to the heaven realm, but in the end, he didn't ask. Although this place was divided into 3 realms, among which the heaven realm didn't know how to go up, only the ghost world knew how to go down from here, so they all came here. We have to row vigorously to get out of here and reach the destination. The longer we stay here, the more danger we will be in. As long as we reach the ghost world and take root there, we can create a future. Rumor has it that there are a lot of spiritual medicines in the ghost world, and there are inheritances everywhere. When the time comes, I can take you to find them. Liu Long's voice came from the side. His words made the cultivators who followed him excited, and they all rowed harder. Brother Liu, we all listen to you. Each of their eyes showed a fanatical look, and they were all full of expectations for the future. Their cultivation is not low. They all believe this kind of empty promise. Yi Tianyun frowned. This was like brainwashing. How could there be so many fools who believed it? If it was the body refinement stage, it would be fine. But those who followed him were all spirit core stage or core transformation stage. Brother Yi, the reason why so many people believe in him is because he has the map of the netherworld. There were also some other miscellaneous treasures that weren't a problem for them to pass through the netherworld passageway. He had shown them a little, so they were dead set on following him. Yang Jiwen said disdainfully, I don't believe him. Liu Long's reputation is too bad, but there are still many people who believe in him. Yes, I don't know where he got the map from. Only God knows if it's real or not. Anyway, we just have to act on our own, Ren Liangchen said. Yi Tianyun didn't know who Liu Long was. He usually didn't care about these things. Hearing what they said, it turned out that Liu Long had something good on him. Otherwise, no one would believe it. Some people believed in him, and some people didn't. To him, it was better to trust himself. Immediately after, he glanced to the side and saw that there were 2 boats that were docked at the shore. Then, they started to climb up the stone walls. Obviously, they wanted to pick the spiritual herbs and flowers here. Not everyone wanted to go to the netherworld. If there was no absolutely safe route, not many people would go to the netherworld. Unless there was no other way, no one would go to the netherworld. It was too risky. Not long after climbing up the stone wall to pluck the spirit herbs, the stone wall suddenly trembled, opened its bloody mouth, and bit down on them. The core transformation stage cultivator reacted quickly and jumped to the side. Just as he was about to grab the stone wall moved again and opened its huge mouth to bite him again. This time, the core transformation stage cultivator couldn't avoid it. He was swallowed by the stone wall and disappeared into it. This scene left everyone dumbfounded, especially those who hadn't seen it before. They were all shocked by this scene. Outside, the trees would attack them, but here, the stone wall would attack them. Sure enough, no place was safe. If they were not careful, they would be attacked. Boom. At this time, a burst of explosion came from the stone wall. The core transformation stage cultivator was bounced out of the stone wall. He was in a mess. Because he couldn't fly, he quickly fell from the sky. Boom. This core transformation stage cultivator sank into the water and quickly rushed out of the water. He kept waving his hands and swam towards the ship, but his speed was quite slow. He used all his strength to swim forward, but as he swam, his face became darker and darker. It was obvious that the poison in the river Styx had invaded his body. Quickly, pull me up. The core transformation stage cultivator roared. His voice was a little hoarse. He couldn't even shout. Soon, his companion quickly rowed the boat to his side. When he came to his side, he didn't dare to use his hands. Instead, he stretched out a wooden plank and let his companion drag him up. After being dragged up, his whole body was black. It was no different from being poisoned. Especially the place where he was injured, it looked like it was rotten. It was really a horrible sight. Huff. 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 Antidote. Antidote. The core transformation stage cultivator lay on the wooden raft and gasped for breath. His companion immediately gave the antidote to his companion. The core transformation stage cultivator felt a little better, but it seemed that he couldn't move for the time being. A core transformation stage cultivator became seriously injured in the blink of an eye and lost his ability to move. This river Styx was really scary. However, his companion's treatment was not slow either. At least, his injuries were stabilized. They seemed to be from a third-rank force. They seemed to be very skilled. It's just that they were unlucky and fell into the trap, Ren Liangchen said. Yi Tianyun nodded. He knew a little bit about this place. The river Styx was the most poisonous place in this place. If they fell into the river Styx and there was no one to treat them, they would be waiting for death. It's so scary. Will we fall into the river Styx? Is the passage to the netherworld so dangerous? Can I go back now? At this time, someone on Liu Long's side showed fear and wanted to leave. You are already here, and you still dare to say such things? Liu Long glared at him and said angrily, if you don't have the courage, how can you become someone powerful in the future? Trust me, I will bring you to the netherworld successfully. After being comforted by him, they calmed down a little. However, they were still very worried about the situation inside. They are all a bunch of disorderly people. They want to go to the netherworld just because they are hot-blooded. They are simply courting death. Leng Hu snorted and felt very disdainful. At the same time, he looked at Yi Tianyun and said, don't tell me you also have the same idea. If you are afraid, it is not too late to go back now. It is not shameful to retreat. Life is the most important thing. If you die, there is no medicine for regret. Leng Hu's words were cold, but his last words warmed people's hearts. His expression was cold, but there was warmth in his heart. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, Brother Leng, this is not enough to scare me. Chapter 463. Leng Hu's words were full of sarcasm, but there was a hint of advice in his words. Yi Tianyun understood what Leng Hu was trying to say, so he didn't think that Leng Hu was wrong. In the outside world, the hearts of people were sinister, so it was normal to be somewhat vigilant. Those who were enthusiastic at the beginning were more likely to cause problems. Leng Hu and the others were very normal. They were all extremely experienced cultivators. Only by obtaining their recognition would they truly help you. Do you know how to get there? Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. He didn't think of this, he thought that they came here at the same time. We know a little, but we don't know the details. It should be the information spread by the people who came back from the ghost world, and we happened to collect some of it. Otherwise, we wouldn't dare to come here. Ren Liangchen said with a smile. Yi Tianyun didn't care about this. At least, he didn't think that they would be so reckless. As they moved forward, they got deeper and deeper into the ghost world. Soon, they lost the ships behind them. Now, only 3 teams were left. These were the teams that were going to the ghost world. The rest of the teams were here to collect spiritual herbs. It's harder to move here. It takes a little more effort. Leng Hu looked at Yi Tianyun and said in a deep voice, Can you still move? If you can't, we'll slow down. Leng Hu was the first one to ask Yi Tianyun if he could move. It seemed that he thought that Yi Tianyun's cultivation was the lowest, so he wanted to take care of Yi Tianyun. After all, Yi Tianyun's qi was too weak. It was the effect of Yi Tianyun's qi, so it felt weak. The 3 of them were at the 5th or 6th level of the core transformation stage. Even if they were independent cultivators, it was already very good for them to reach this level. This kind of cultivator was not rare. Relatively speaking, there were quite a lot of them. Not every cultivator liked to join a sect. Yes, we can slow down here. It doesn't matter if we slow down. Yang Jiwen nodded in agreement. In fact, they all felt quite tired. They had consumed too much spiritual power. Every time they rode, it was like pushing a mountain. I'm fine. This is not a problem for me. I just need to continue moving forward at the same speed. I don't want to stay here any longer. Yi Tianyun smiled. He did not feel any pressure at all. Sure, just tell me if you have any questions. We're on the same boat. We have to help each other, Ren Liangchen said. They thought that Yi Tianyun was trying to show off, so he slowed down a little. Overall, his speed was still impressive. Compared to Liu Long's team, their speed was slightly slower. Liu Long threw a sarcastic look at them and said, Ren Liangchen, why did you slow down? Are you out of energy? If you don't have the strength, go home and drink milk. He was very unhappy that Ren Liangchen had snatched him away. In addition, he already had some friction with Ren Liangchen, so he couldn't help but scold him. This bastard, Yang Jiwen wanted to say something, but Ren Liangchen shook his head and gestured for him to ignore Liu Long. Ignore him. Let's just move forward. It's good for everyone if we don't cause trouble here. A cold light flashed past Ren Liangchen's eyes. He was definitely unhappy, but it was better not to cause trouble for the big picture. Yi Tianyun looked over. Liu Long was happy. The people rowing the boat were all cultivators that he had tricked into coming. They were all willing to row for him. The more people there were, the faster the rowing speed would be. As they continued moving forward, Yi Tianyun's eyes flickered. He immediately said, Big Brother Ren, I feel that something is wrong in front. Pay more attention to the surroundings. Something is wrong. I don't feel anything. Ren Liangchen looked into the distance. There was no difference from before. Other than the difficulty of rowing, there was no problem. However, they still listened to Yi Tianyun's words and slowed down a little. Obviously, the effect of Yi Tianyun's commander points had appeared. It was somewhat credible. As for Liu Long, he didn't slow down and continued to move forward. Sure enough, a moment later, a white shadow suddenly rushed out of the water and pounced on Liu Long. Before they could react, someone was thrown into the water. He didn't even have time to scream before he disappeared under the water and never got up again. It's a dark water shark. Ren Liangchen's face darkened. They all saw what it was. It was a dark water shark that lived here. It was a very powerful monster. Dark water shark, monster at level 1 of the core transformation stage. It can resist the poison of dark water. Its body is highly toxic. If you are bitten, the poison will enter your body. If you don't find the antidote within 15 minutes, you will definitely die. The pet's potential is level 3. Its weakness is extreme fire. Killing it will give you the antidote. Dark water shark skin, dark water poison. The detailed information of the dark water shark was exposed under Yi Tianyun's investigation. This thing was really fierce. Its cultivation was at least at level 1 of the core transformation stage, and it would get higher and higher. The most important thing was that it could move in the dark water, which was the biggest difficulty. Dark water sharks could move in the water, but they couldn't. It was that simple. Splash. At this time, another dark water shark rushed out of the water, but this time it didn't rush to Liu Long, but to Yi Tianyun. It just happened to bite Yi Tianyun. It probably judged that Yi Tianyun's cultivation was the lowest, so its target was him. The person who attacked Liu Long before was also at the spirit core stage, so he prioritized killing the weaker ones. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. Just when he was about to kill the dark water shark, a cold light flashed and hit the dark water shark fiercely. It was instantly hit and sent flying, leaving a deep mark on its hard shark skin. It was Leng Hu, who was relatively close to Yi Tianyun. He was holding a high-grade soul tool giant axe in his hand, and he helped him kill the dark water shark. Keep rowing, let's get out of here quickly, Ren Liangchen said sternly. Only by leaving the area of the dark water sharks will we be safe. Yi Tianyun checked the map of the Netherworld passage. This area was divided into an area, and they would be safe after leaving. But along the way, they would be attacked by the dark water sharks, which was a headache. Liu Long sped up the boat crazily and drove forward at a faster speed. Liu Long shouted angrily, "Hurry up! Hurry up! Why do you save so much energy? Hurry up and row!" At the same time, the core transformation stage powerhouses helped to resist the attacks of the darkwater sharks. It was a little difficult, but it was still bearable. Every one of them used all their strength to row forward, and their speed became faster and faster. They were much faster than before, and they had completely forced out their potential. Only Yi Tianyun's speed was much slower, and Yi Tianyun couldn't row the boat. This made them dumbfounded. Why did Yi Tianyun not row the boat at this time? Chapter 464. Yi Tianyun had the same idea, but it didn't mean that the others had the same idea. They had never thought of taming netherwater sharks as pets. They weren't animal tamers, so they didn't think about it. However, when they saw that Yi Tianyun didn't even help to row the boat, they were all stunned. Leng Hu couldn't help but scold him. "Kid, what are you doing? Row the boat. There's no way to kill all the netherwater sharks here. There will only be more and more of them." Leng Hu wasn't joking. There were more and more netherwater sharks around them, and their black bodies emerged from the water. They were ready to attack, ready to pounce on them. Once they smelled the smell of blood, they all showed their heads. They all stared at them as if they were looking for prey, and they were ready to pounce on them. However, Yi Tianyun still didn't row the boat. The other two teams were rowing crazily, one faster than the other, and they couldn't wait to escape from here. "Yeah, row the boat quickly," Yang Jiwen couldn't help but say. He was very anxious now. Yi Tianyun seemed to be scared out of his wits. He stood motionless on the spot. Leng Hu and Ren Liangchen were responsible for dealing with the netherwater sharks, so only Yi Tianyun and Yang Jiwen were rowing the boat, so it wasn't very fast. Now that only Yang Jiwen was rowing the boat, the speed was even slower, and it was basically moving forward bit by bit. "Ha ha ha, luckily I didn't accept that silly kid. He's scared out of his wits." Liu Long couldn't help but laugh when he noticed the situation. He was very glad that Yi Tianyun didn't choose to join them, or he would be a burden. When the other team saw the situation, they couldn't help but sneer. They felt that it was really sad that they had encountered a silly kid who was scared out of his wits after seeing so many netherwater sharks. "Kid, what's on your mind?" Leng Hu shouted, signaling him to wake up. "Row the boat quickly. Don't be afraid, we'll block them." Leng Hu didn't fly into a rage or kick him into the water. Instead, he comforted Yi Tianyun, telling him not to panic. "Big brother Leng, don't worry. I'm not afraid of anything." Yi Tianyun smiled faintly and said, "I've been waiting for this opportunity, waiting for these netherwater sharks to approach. Otherwise, I really won't have a chance." "What?" They were confused. They had no idea what Yi Tianyun was talking about. "You guys stay here and watch me, that's all." After saying that, Yi Tianyun threw out a wooden raft. Then, he jumped onto the raft and stood alone in the area. This caused Liu Longlong to laugh so hard that tears were coming out of his eyes. "That foolish brat, charging forward alone, isn't he courting death? That's good. Let's attract all the netherwater sharks here. What a bunch of fools." After he said that, he killed the deep water shark with his sword and threw the shark's body to Yi Tianyun's side. The thick smell of blood spread in all directions, attracting more netherwater sharks. This scene enraged Ren Liangchen and the others. Were they trying to kill them? "Liu Long, what are you doing?" Ren Liangchen shouted. "Nothing much. Enjoy yourselves. We'll be leaving first." Liu Long laughed and swaggered off. "Liu Long, if I catch up with you, I'll make you die a horrible death." Ren Liangchen was furious. He did not expect that he would be tricked at this critical moment. However, their attention was not on Liu Long, but on Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun jumped over alone. Leng Hu and the others were also dumbfounded. Not only did he not want to row the raft, but he also wanted to act like a hero. "You brat, why are you acting like a hero? Hurry up and come back. We can deal with them." When Leng Hu lifted his giant axe and was about to go over to help, a netherwater shark had already pounced on Yi Tianyun. "Big brother Leng, you guys stay there. Trust me." Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed, and a giant sword, a soul instrument, appeared in his hand. He did not take out a holy instrument to avoid scaring them. Moreover, it was more powerful, and it would not be easy to catch the netherwater shark. Then, he swung the giant sword and slapped the netherwater shark down. The shark landed on the raft, and its huge body shook the raft violently. Fortunately, there were fewer people on the raft. Otherwise, they would not be able to withstand such a heavy netherwater shark. Roar! Roar! The netherwater shark roared. The attack did not hurt it at all. It was just a simple slap, and it did not hurt it at all. What kind of attack is that? Didn't you eat? It can't hurt the netherwater shark at all. Ren Liangchen, you have really found yourself a good teammate. Liu Long saw that so many netherwater sharks were attracted to the netherwater shark, and they did not feel too much pressure. All of them laughed, thinking that it was good to have an idiot. How could they not be happy that such a selfless idea had allowed them to leave this place smoothly? Big brother Liu, it's lucky that you did not ask him to come. Otherwise, we would be in big trouble. Yes, it's better not to accept some idiots. Otherwise, they will drag us down. Hee, with them as bait, we can successfully reach the netherworld this time. They were all excited, thinking that Yi Tianyun was really their lucky star. When everyone thought that Yi Tianyun was a fool, he had already stretched out his hand and his eyes flashed. Cat. Then, a light enveloped the netherwater shark, and less than a moment later, a pleasant voice was heard. Ding. Successfully caught the netherwater shark. Obtained 300,000 experience points and 300 pet catching proficiency point. Without any difficulty, he successfully caught the netherwater shark. Not only was his level not low, but the most important thing was that his cultivation was higher, which greatly increased the success rate. Go down. Yi Tianyun said to the netherwater shark. The netherwater shark jumped into the water and sank to the bottom of the river. Seeing this situation, everyone felt that something was wrong. The netherwater shark should have counterattacked. Why did it jump into the water so obediently? Then, another netherwater shark rushed up, but it was slapped down by Yi Tianyun and fell on the raft. He subdued the netherwater shark in the same way and let it fall into the water again. Lung Hu and the others looked at each other, not knowing what was going on. However, they could all see that Yi Tianyun dealt with the netherwater sharks easily, but he did not hurt them. They did not know why. Hiss. This time, 2 netherwater sharks rushed over. Yi Tianyun's eyes were cold, and he suddenly waved the giant sword in his hand. One of them was cut in half and fell into the water, and the other was slapped down and fell on the raft. This move was as fast as lightning. Many people could only see the afterimage, and they could not see what was going on at all. For a moment, everyone was stunned, wondering if they were seeing things. Cat. Yi Tianyun used the catching skill again and successfully caught the 3rd netherwater shark. Then, he jumped from the raft and returned to the original raft. Sorry to make you worry. Now we can leave. Yi Tianyun smiled slightly, extremely relaxed. Good boy, your strength is not bad. Let's row the boat now. Lung Hu immediately handed a wooden board to Yi Tianyun so that he could row the boat. No, we don't need to row the boat. Yi Tianyun pointed forward, and then 3 netherwater sharks appeared in front of the raft. They were very obedient. Let them pull our raft. Why do we have to row the boat ourselves? Chapter 465. The 3 netherwater sharks were very obedient in front of him. Except for these 3 netherwater sharks, the other netherwater sharks would not listen to his instructions. They were all surrounding him, ready to attack. They will listen to your orders. Ren Liangchen and the others were taken aback by Yi Tianyun's actions. They couldn't believe that Yi Tianyun was able to control them in the blink of an eye. Is he a beast tamer? Yi Tianyun did not explain. He immediately took out a few ropes and tied them up. After that, he immediately ordered, go. The 3 netherwater sharks immediately obeyed his order and dragged the raft forward at a high speed. Their speed was much faster than that of paddling before. They caught up with Liu Long and the others in an instant and easily overtook them. Take your time, you bunch of idiots. Yi Tianyun sneered at them and continued to control the netherwater sharks to swim forward. They were born to live here, so they could easily pass through the lead like netherwater and pull the raft forward. After passing them, The netherwater sharks behind them immediately shifted their target to Liu Long and the others because they had lost their target of Yi Tianyun. They rushed over again, which made them scream in fear. "Hurry up! Paddle!" Liu Long hurriedly shouted when he saw the netherwater sharks rushing over so crazily. The other teams followed suit and shouted. They were all dumbfounded. They could only speed up and paddle forward. The previous ridicule was like a slap in their faces. They did not know what it felt like. Now it was their turn to escape. Looking at Yi Tianyun, he was swimming forward very comfortably, and his speed was much faster than theirs. Is that guy still an animal tamer? What the hell is going on? Liu Long's heart was like a stormy sea. He had thought that Ren Liangchen had found a burden and lost money. He did not expect that it was their loss. All of a sudden, the situation has completely changed. Yi Tianyun's side has a great advantage. He easily left them behind and became food for the darkwater sharks. On Yi Tianyun's side, he too had not recovered from the shock. They all looked at him in shock, re-evaluated him, and didn't know what to say. Looking at Yi Tianyun and the netherwater sharks pulling the boat in front of them, they wondered if they were seeing things. What's wrong? Yi Tianyun looked at their shocked expressions and couldn't help but smile. Yi Tianyun could understand why they were so shocked. Netherwater sharks were extremely difficult to tame, but they were tamed in the blink of an eye. Who wouldn't be shocked? "Brother Yi, are you also a beast tamer?" Ren Liangchen asked after a while. "You could say that." Yi Tianyun thought for a moment. Theoretically, he was a beast tamer, but he was much stronger than a beast tamer. Even a beast tamer couldn't tame 3 netherwater sharks in such a short time. "So, you didn't kill the netherwater sharks just now to tame them?" Lung Hu and the others remembered that Yi Tianyun didn't kill the netherwater sharks before, and others thought that he didn't eat and couldn't exert any strength at all. "Yes, if we hurt them, how could they help us pull the boat?" Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. "Brother Yi, that's not very kind of you. You should have said that you are a beast tamer earlier. I thought you were scared out of your wits, and I was so worried." Yang Jiwen patted his chest. He was really scared out of his wits just now. There were so many netherwater sharks, and there was a person who was scared out of his wits. How could he not be scared? "Would you believe me if I told you?" Yi Tianyun smiled. "Well, I really don't believe it." The 3 of them looked at each other. It was really hard to believe. Even a beast tamer couldn't tame these netherwater sharks in such a short time. Of course, they rarely saw a beast tamer, but to tame a netherwater shark in such a dangerous place, according to common sense, it would take a long time. It would be fine if it was safer, but it was obviously not worth it to choose to tame the netherwater sharks in such a dangerous situation. It was too dangerous. Unless they could easily tame them in the blink of an eye, no one would be willing to stay. "That's it. Since you are willing to take me with you, I will definitely help you. Otherwise, I will really feel a little guilty." Yi Tianyun smiled and said, "We were wrong about you just now. We really thought you were scared out of your wits. It turns out that you are very confident." Yang Jiwen laughed a few times and said apologetically, "I hope you don't mind. Fortunately, I didn't say anything outrageous. Even if you said something outrageous, I don't mind. The situation was so urgent at that time. It's normal for you to do that." Yi Tianyun certainly wouldn't mind. If it were him, he would also be anxious. "Anyway, we are really glad that you can join us. Look, Liu Long and the others are far behind us. They can't catch up at all." Yang Jiwen laughed, and his laughter was full of joy. They were insulted just now, so they must be very unhappy. Now that Liu Long and the others were far behind them, they felt very comfortable. As they continued to move forward, they soon saw the shore. It seemed that there was only one section of the Netherworld River. If they kept going, it would be really troublesome. "Look, we are going to the shore." They were pleasantly surprised. Although the netherwater sharks were pulling them, they still wanted to go to the shore as soon as possible. They would only feel slightly more at ease on the ground. If they could fly, it wouldn't be a problem. The problem was that they couldn't fly, so they would feel more at ease on the shore. However, the shore was grey, as if it was covered by a layer of fog. They couldn't see the situation inside at all. They couldn't even use their spiritual senses to easily explore the depths inside. It was undoubtedly more difficult. As expected, the road to the netherworld wasn't easy. The deeper they went, the more difficult it was. This should be the death fog. It will gather every once in a while. We can only go deeper after it disperses. It seems that we can't go in for now, Ren Liangchen said while looking at the death fog. Yi Tianyun nodded. Of course, he knew this place. It was clearly marked in the Netherworld passage map. He even knew how to walk, but there were layers of fog. Even with the map, they couldn't walk easily. Therefore, after they went ashore, they could only wait for the fog to dissipate. Otherwise, they wouldn't dare to go in. If one were to wander around randomly and take the wrong path, it would be a dead end. Especially if they couldn't walk back, that would be a real nightmare. If Ming Chen and the others came from this side, it would be really easy. But did they come from here? Yi Tianyun frowned. If they came from here, it would be a little troublesome. Chapter 466. Ren Liangchen and the others stayed on the shore and observed the situation inside while recovering their spiritual power. They had consumed a lot of spiritual power during the battle with the Darkwater sharks. It should be said that they were consuming spiritual power at every moment because they had to resist the black gas that was constantly invading them. So, unless they left this place, they would have to consume spiritual power at every moment. The consumption of spiritual power was not low. The deeper they went into the black gas, the more amazing the effect was, so they needed to consume more spiritual power to resist. Of course, there was one exception, and that was Yi Tianyun. He didn't feel anything because the black gas couldn't get close to him. Fortunately, he looked no different from the others. They were all repelling the black gas. The biggest difference was that Yi Tianyun didn't need to consume any spiritual power at all, but they had to consume spiritual power all the time, so they had been taking recovery pills. They had made a lot of preparations to resist the black gas. Brother Yi, do you have recovery pills? If not, I've prepared a lot. I can share some with you. Ren Liangchen took out a few bottles of pills and handed them to Yi Tianyun. Thank you, big brother Ren. I'm prepared. If I didn't come prepared, I'd be an idiot. Yi Tianyun smiled and refused. His cultivation is much higher than them, so he doesn't need any recovery medicinal pill from beginning to end. Unless he encountered an extremely strong opponent, he really did not consume much spiritual power, let alone feel the slightest bit of pressure. If that's the case, I won't force you. Just let us know if you need anything, Ren Liangchen smiled. Yes, there's still a long way to go. We need to help each other to get through. Just let us know if you have any questions, Yang Jiwen added. Lung, who was silent for a while, then said, just tell me if you need anything. Thank you. His voice was sonorous. Although it still sounded cold, it was clear that he was very grateful. Yes, we really have to thank you. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to get here so easily. They all looked at Yi Tianyun gratefully. They felt that it was great to be able to team up with him. It was all thanks to Yi Tianyun's help that he was able to get here so smoothly, so he must be grateful. Their attitude towards Yi Tianyun has become even better. After showing the standard he should have, he immediately got their approval. Before, they recognized his courage, now they recognized his strength. Monster tamer was definitely a rare profession, much rarer than divine pattern master. However, very few people were passionate about it, mainly because it was too difficult and they could only control a few monsters. Unless one was born with a good understanding of demonic beasts, it was not recommended to become a beast tamer. It would be better to become a blacksmith. Let's talk about this when we get to Underworld. There's still a long way to go. Yi Tianyun looked at the Netherworld passage. They had only traveled a little more than half of the distance, and the rest of the journey wouldn't be easy. Yes, it's still too early to thank us. Ren Liangchen smiled and said, Brother Yi, you did well earlier, it's our turn now. We have been preparing for a long time to go to Underworld. We don't want Brother Yi to be the only one in the limelight. That's true. The three of us originally planned to come like this. Big Brother thought that we should bring more people, so I didn't object. Even without anyone's help, we still have a high chance of reaching Underworld successfully. Yang Jiwen's eyes flashed with confidence. Of course, with Brother Yi, it will be even easier for us. The more helpers we have, the better. They smiled knowingly. Their confidence in this trip to Underworld was boosted. Yi Tianyun didn't say anything. He knew from the Underworld passageway map that the situation later would be even more difficult. To them, it was a nightmare. To him, it wasn't too much pressure. It wouldn't be a problem to bring the three of them along. Seeing their enthusiasm, Yi Tianyun felt that it was not a bad idea to help them. As the death fog was more serious now, they could only wait here for it to disperse. The time it took for it to disperse and gather was not fixed, so they could only wait. After waiting for a long time, the sound of rowing came from behind. They all turned around to look. It was Liu Long and the others. There were only a few of them left now. Their cultivation was at the core transformation stage. There were no spirit core stage cultivators left. Obviously, all of them had died on the way and were eaten by the deep water sharks. Only the core transformation experts with higher cultivation could stay until the end, but they still looked very embarrassed. It was not easy to fight with the deep water sharks, especially when there were so many of them. No one knew how many deep water sharks there were in the river Styx, but there were many of them. The longer they stayed there, the more dangerous it was. You are really slow. You only came up now. You are almost as fast as a snail. I advise you to go home and drink milk, Ren Liang Chen retorted fiercely. They immediately took out their weapons, and there was a hint of murderous intent in their eyes. Before, because there were deep water sharks around and they were in the river Styx, they didn't dare to fight at will, let alone talk back. But now it was different. They had all come ashore, and now it was time to settle the score. Liu Long's face suddenly changed when he saw their attitude. They had just experienced the baptism of the deep water sharks, and now it was Ren Liangchen's turn. As expected, they had to pay for what they had done. Brother Ren. I just said it casually. I hope you can forgive me and let me go like a fart. Liu Long immediately begged for mercy. They had expended a lot of energy now. If they fought with Ren Liangchen and the others, they would definitely die. Then your fart is really stinky. Yi Tianyun looked at him coldly and said, I don't know who just called me an idiot or a stupid boy. That's my fault. I shouldn't have said that. Liu Long said bitterly, I just got carried away, but I have the passage map to the inside. As long as you are willing to let me go and cooperate with me, I am willing to share it with you. Liu Long didn't want to cause a conflict with them. It was dangerous now, and the more people, the better. Everyone wanted to go to the Netherworld, not to fight for treasures. Therefore, whoever had the passage map would more or less have a chance to cooperate. As expected, as soon as he said that, the eyes of the people around him lit up, especially the group from before. That's not necessary. Ren Liangchen looked at him coldly and said, Don't forget what you did before. You threw the deep water shark's body here and made us targets. Have you forgotten? Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold. Of course, he had seen what had happened before. He was also very unhappy that he had been tricked. Becoming a target in such a dangerous place was basically no different from being dead. Chapter 467. Liu Long's face darkened when he heard Ren Liangchen's words. He thought that Ren Liangchen would forgive him after he apologized and belittled him. However, Ren Liangchen did not forgive him and even slapped him. How could he accept such an insult? Don't go too far. I just threw the netherwater shark's body to the side. I didn't throw it to you on purpose. Now that things had come to this, Liu Long was still denying it in every possible way. It was truly disgusting. Under normal circumstances, when killing a demonic beast, at most, it would be thrown to the side. How could it be thrown to the side of them? This was really casual. Do you think we're idiots, or do you think we're idiots? Yi Tianyun looked at him calmly. Sometimes, you have to be responsible for your own actions. I'll give you a chance to jump down and swim back up. I'll pretend that nothing happened. Liu Long's face changed. What was the difference between that and suicide? The netherwater here was more terrifying than the outside. If he swam back up, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. Especially in such a dangerous place, how long would it take for him to recover? This place was constantly being attacked by the black gas. If no one protected him, he would definitely die. His companions who came with him might not be able to protect him all the time. Ren Liangchen and the others looked at each other. They did not expect Yi Tianyun to be so ruthless, but they liked it. Yes, as long as you swim back up, we won't pursue this matter anymore. Otherwise. Ren Liangchen's eyes turned cold. The three of them were filled with killing intent. What happened earlier was almost the same as trying to kill them, so it was reasonable for them to kill him. They were already being merciful by only letting him swim down. At least he would have a chance to survive. It seems like you really want to fight with me. Do you really think I'm a pushover? Liu Long's eyes were extremely cold. He turned his head and looked at the people on the side. Do you want to know how to get out of this death mist? Let me tell you, this death mist is very dangerous. If you're not careful, you'll die. But I know how to get out of here. As long as you fight with me, I'll give you the map. In order to save himself, Liu Long immediately asked for help from the other team. There were only 3 people left on their side. They were in a very bad situation. They were poisoned by the Netherwater Shark's attack, and now they had to face 4 people at the same time. Without a doubt, they could not deal with them, so they had to ask the other team for help. The other team had 3 core transformation stage cultivators, and they seemed to be quite reliable. However, no one knew what was going on with them. Yi Tianyun and the others looked over there. They want to see what they have to say. A map, huh? If it's just a map, then the reward is too low. The middle-aged man in the lead shook his head. He felt that the reward was too low. At the very least, you need to add some weapons. Otherwise, if you want the 3 of us, hunting tiger, to take action, the price is too low. You are the Lai Hu brothers? Ren Liangchen's face darkened. Yi Tianyun didn't know who the tiger hunting brothers were, but judging from Ren Liangchen's expression, he knew that they weren't ordinary people. All of them were above level 6 or level 7 of the core transformation stage, which was a very powerful cultivation level. Previously, he had noticed that the few of them had killed the deep water shark quite easily, and those who had come with them had all died. However, the 3 brothers had no problem, which showed their strength. The 3 of them have done all kinds of evil things. They often kidnap young girls and humiliate them. Recently, they had killed their way into a sect and committed all sorts of evil deeds. They had even insulted the eldest daughter of the sect, causing them to be hunted down. Originally, they were hiding in the Netherworld Empire, but now that the Netherworld Empire had been destroyed, they had nowhere to hide, so they could only flee to the Netherworld. I didn't expect that we would meet these 3 scums here. Ren Liangchen sent a message to the 3 of them. Yi Tianyun's eyes are cold, so they are scum. It seems like we are quite famous. You even know our names. Liangchen said with an evil smile on his face. The titles of the 3 of you resound like thunder. How could we not know about you? Fear flashed across Liu Long's eyes. As long as you can help me, not only will I give you the map, I'll also give you a top-quality soul armament. I won't lie. What about you two? Liangchen and Liangchen looked at Liu Long and Liangchen and asked. We have to contribute too. The other 2 were stunned. Wasn't Liu Long just asking for help? What did it have to do with them? If you fellows don't want to pay, you can choose to jump down. If there are 2 laps, I won't charge you anything. Hunter Cheng's eyes were filled with killing intent and he didn't look like he was lying. We will give you a high-quality soul instrument. Huh? 2 high-quality soul instruments. That's all we have. Although they were core transformation cultivators, their situation was not good. It seemed that they had just broken through to the core transformation stage not long ago. Not bad. Liangchen and Liangchen looked at Yi Tianyun and Liangchen and asked with a smile, their offer is not low. How much will you pay? Liangchen and Liangchen released their chi. They were at level 7 and 8 of the core transformation stage. After the battle, they didn't consume much of their chi. They were not weak. Liangchen and Liangchen's faces changed. They thought that they would attack immediately. He didn't expect that they would ask Yi Tianyun and Liangchen. Did this mean that if Yi Tianyun offered a higher price, they would be dead? Offer a price? Yi Tianyun said calmly, why? Ren Liangchen and Liang Chen looked at them coldly. They didn't want to compromise at all. Even if they were weaker than Liang Chen, they didn't want to compromise at all. Especially to these disgusting cultivators, compromise was a great humiliation. Why? Isn't our strength enough? Liang Chen and Liang Chen took out their high-quality soul instruments. Each of them used a different weapon, but the smell of blood filled the air. Liang Chen didn't know how many people they had killed. In that case, I will give you a price. I promise you will be satisfied. Yi Tianyun smiled. What price? Liang Chen's eyes lit up. They were going to the ghost world, so they needed to collect more resources. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to settle down in the ghost world. I will spare your lives. Is that enough? Yi Tianyun said calmly. Chapter 468. Spare the three of us? Lai Cheng was stunned. Liu Long and the others were also stunned. They thought that Yi Tianyun would really give them some reward. Who knew that he would spare their lives? Fuck, Big Brother is playing with us. Lai Feng's eyes turned cold. He pulled out the long sword from his waist and stared at Yi Tianyun. Lai Cheng raised his hand to signal them not to be impulsive, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. It seems that you think you are strong enough to kill all of us in one go? Of course, he was talking about Liu Long and the others. They were also going to participate in the battle, so there were 6 core transformation stage cultivators in total. At least not a fool would be able to figure out who had a higher chance of winning. Especially the 3 Lai Hu brothers, their cultivation was amazing, so they would definitely have the upper hand in a fight. What do you think? Yi Tianyun looked at him indifferently and said, kill him for me, then jump down and swim for a lap, and I will spare your lives. Did I hear it wrong? Kill them and you want us to swim for a lap? What do you think we Lai Hu brothers are? Lai Cheng said angrily. Do you really think that you are invincible? Even if you are a beast tamer, do you have the ability to command the deep water sharks to attack me? They were not worried at all that Yi Tianyun was a beast tamer. The deep water sharks were good, but Yi Tianyun's control was limited, especially on the shore. How could he command the deep water sharks to come up? The deep water sharks could not walk on the shore, let alone swim. Although their cultivation was already at the core transformation stage, their spiritual wisdom was not developed, so their control of spiritual power was not as strong as that of cultivators, so they could not fly at all. Core transformation stage cultivators could fly by controlling their spiritual power, which was equivalent to using spiritual power to fly in the sky. Of course, the effect was different. We don't need the deep water sharks, we are enough. Lung, who held the giant axe in his hand, ready to fight. With just you. Lai Cheng sneered. I don't know how many of you I have killed, and how many of you begged for mercy in front of me, but in the end, a figure flashed past and appeared in front of him. Before Hunter Cheng could react, a palm had already slapped him heavily on the face. Hunter Cheng only felt pain on his face before he was sent flying. He slid back a long distance before he barely managed to stop. His face was swollen, and who knew how many of his teeth were broken. Blood continuously flowed out of his mouth. It was a horrible sight to behold, and his face was directly disfigured. Following that, another figure flew over and stepped on Lai Cheng's body. He said calmly, "Beg for mercy." "Who did you say begged for mercy?" After speaking, Yi Tianyun stomped down fiercely. With a peng, Lai Cheng's body was stomped into the ground. The violent stomp caused Lai Cheng to spit out a mouthful of blood. He felt like his internal organs had been crushed. No one could react to the sudden change. Hunter Cheng, who had the highest cultivation, was instantly killed. The one who killed Hun Cheng was none other than Yi Tianyun. He looked very young, but he was able to display such a violent power. I die. Yi Tianyun stomped his foot heavily, and with a bang sound, Lai Cheng was completely trampled into the ground, and there was no sign of life. Under such a violent power, how could Hunter Cheng withstand it? Ding successfully killed Hunter Cheng. Reward, 1,200,000 EXP, 4,800 Crazy Point, 1,000 SPS. Reward, Hunting Tiger Step, Wild Impact. Reward, Detoxification Pill, Hunting Tiger Claw, 5 times EXP pill. His sin value is really quite high. It's even higher than the minister's. It's not that the ministers don't kill many people, but the things they do are too heartless. In a blink of an eye, Hunter Cheng was killed. When Yi Tianyun turned his head and looked at them, they felt a chill in their hearts. How can there be such a monster? Hunter Cheng's cultivation was the highest among them, but he was killed in an instant. It means that Yi Tianyun's cultivation is much higher than them. Big brother, they screamed. Their big brother, whom they respected so much, had been killed so easily. No way. Is brother Yi really that strong? Even the eldest brother of the hunting tiger brothers was killed so easily. Ren Liang Chen and the others were dumbfounded. They knew that Yi Tianyun's strength was definitely not bad. They didn't expect Yi Tianyun to be this strong. An 8th level core transformation stage cultivator was killed in 2 moves, and he didn't even have time to say a word. Liu Long and the others' legs trembled. They thought that the 3 brothers were the strongest, but they didn't expect that the youngest kid was the strongest. How strong is he to be able to kill Hunter Cheng so easily? Peak of core transformation stage? They didn't dare to think about Void Spirit stage. Void Spirit stage is too difficult to cultivate. It belongs to the level of Phoenix Feather and Chileen Horn. There are many peak core transformation stage cultivators, but Void Spirit stage cultivators are very rare. Just take a look at the Netherworld Empire. Once a cultivator breaks through to the Void Spirit stage, he or she would become a great general or an important minister. The difficulty of cultivation was too high, so the corresponding level was different. This is the last time. Do you want to jump down and swim, or do you want me to kick you down and swim? Yi Tianyun looked at them coldly. Hunter Feng and the others swallowed their saliva. In the face of Yi Tianyun's terrifying pressure, should they jump down or not? You killed my big brother. I will kill you. Hunter Feng shouted. He didn't choose to compromise, but instead, he grabbed his weapon and stabbed Yi Tianyun with all of his strength. He was like a gust of wind, and his speed was so fast that it left an afterimage in everyone's eyes. Yi Tianyun didn't even bother to look at Hunter Wind as he kicked Hunter Wind with his foot. Bang! Hunter Wind was sent flying by Yi Tianyun's kick and fell into the Netherworld River. Splash! Hunter Feng sank to the bottom of the river Styx, and he didn't get up again. Even if he didn't die, he would be seriously injured. How could he swim up to the bottom of the river Styx? He could only sink to the bottom and didn't get up again. Second brother. I will kill you. Hunting Rock roared and rushed towards Yi Tianyun. He was ready to fight with Yi Tianyun to the death. It seems like you are quite loyal. Then, get the hell out of here. Yi Tianyun didn't show any mercy. He rushed forward at a faster speed, aimed at Hunting Rock, and kicked him into the Netherworld River. Splash! Another person fell into the river Styx, and he didn't get up again. The river Styx didn't float people up, it only sucked them in, so they would only sink to the bottom of the river Styx. Chapter 469. The 3 hunting tiger brothers, who had astonishing cultivations, were killed just like that. In total, it took less than the time it took for a stick of incense to burn. This kind of power was really shocking. This caused them to be dumbfounded. Apart from shock, there was even more shock in their hearts. Yi Tianyun turned his head and looked at Liu Long, his eyes flashing with a fierce light. What about you guys? I don't know how you'll answer. Are you going to jump down and swim 2 laps, or do I have to help you swim 2 laps? Liu Long and the others had bitter expressions on their faces. They had originally wanted to join hands with the 3 hunting tiger brothers to get rid of Yi Tianyun and the others. Now that they had all been killed by Yi Tianyun, they did not know what to say. I'm willing to give you the map unconditionally, please let me go. Liu Long knelt down, trembling. This time, he finally gave in and did not dare to resist at all. He knew that resistance was useless and would only cause him to die earlier. The 3 hunting tiger brothers were the best example. They were killed in the blink of an eye. This was the result of resisting. I've said it before. Either you go down by yourselves, or I'll kick you down. Choose one. Yi Tianyun's gaze was ice-cold as he indicated for them to jump into the Netherworld River and swim 1 round. We also need it. The 2 core transformation stage cultivators said with a bitter face. It seems like this has nothing to do with them. That's right. Didn't you think about dealing with us before? Yi Tianyun said calmly, at least, from your expressions, I can tell that you have such intentions. After he said that, he used his qi to suppress them. He didn't need to use too much qi, as long as he was at the peak of core transformation stage, it was enough to suppress them. Their expressions changed. These words weren't false. They really did have such thoughts. They must have listened to Liu Long's words and joined forces to deal with Yi Tianyun and the others, who knew that there would be such a big reversal and they would be completely crushed. It was too late for regrets. We. They had long faces and wanted to say something, but they didn't know how to explain. Jump, or I'll help you. Make your choice. Yi Tianyun said coldly. We'll jump by ourselves. The two of them paused for a moment. First, they consumed a few antidotes before jumping into the Netherworld River. As soon as they jumped down, they immediately let out blood-curdling screams. The underworld water continuously invaded their bodies, and in the blink of an eye, their bodies were already pitch black. However, in order to survive, they could only keep paddling forward. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as simple as swimming. They would die here. When Liu Long saw this, his expression changed. He knew what it was like to be poisoned. It was definitely not a good feeling. He turned to look at Yi Tianyun, gritted his teeth and said, Sir, other than giving you this map, I have other secrets to tell you. It's definitely worth it. Ren Liang Chen and the others looked at Yi Tianyun, not knowing what to do. Do you want to jump down yourself, or do you want me to help you? Yi Tianyun's voice was as cold as ever. He had no other choice. I'll jump. Liu Long gritted his teeth and turned around, revealing a bit of killing intent. However, he could only endure it for now. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't escape. He could either escape into the mist of death or jump into the river Styx. There was no third option. When he arrived at the river Styx and was about to jump down, he immediately unleashed all his strength and rushed into the mist of death. He didn't choose to jump into the river Styx. Instead, he chose to escape into the mist of death. Although jumping into the river Styx would give him a chance to survive, the chances were too slim. The mist of death was different. He wouldn't die immediately if he rushed into it. He didn't believe that Yi Tianyun would catch up with him. However, before he could run more than a few steps, Yi Tianyun had already flashed in front of him and looked at him coldly. His speed was much faster than Liu Long's. In the blink of an eye, he had intercepted him. There was no way for him to escape. From the beginning, Yi Tianyun felt that it was very likely that Liu Long would trick him. As expected, Yi Tianyun was planning to escape into the mist of death. Therefore, Yi Tianyun, who was well prepared, quickly intercepted Liu Long and stopped him easily. Why? Where do you want to go? Yi Tianyun said calmly. I want to sprint. If I go down. Liu Long said with a bitter face. No need, I will help you down. Yi Tianyun kicked Liu Long fiercely. Liu Long screamed and fell into the water. He quickly sank to the bottom of the river and never floated again. This kick was not light, and it directly broke his bones. It would be a miracle if he could still swim. Ding successfully killed Hu Feng. Reward, 100. 000 EXP, 4. 600 CPS, 900 SPS. Obtained martial arts hunting wind claw and hunting wind steps. Obtained detoxification pill, healing pill, hunting wind claw. Ding successfully killed Hu Feng. Reward, 100. 000 EXP, 4. 600 CPS, 900 SPS. At this time, the two of them died in the river Styx. They didn't die when they were kicked into the river, but after a while, they were poisoned to death. The two cultivators who swam out only swam one round outside before they quickly swam back. When they reached the shore, they grabbed onto the shore and rushed up. After they came up, they were gasping for breath. It seems that the poison has penetrated into their bones. It will take a lot of effort to detoxify them. The two of them were lying on the ground, motionless and breathing. They took a lot of detoxification pill in advance, but they don't know if it will work or not. Yi Tianyun is a man of his word. Since they did it, he will let them go. If they can survive, then it is their own ability. If they can't survive, then they deserve it. Brother Yi, your strength. Ren Liangchen and the others finally came to their senses, and their eyes were filled with shock. They thought that Yi Tianyun was strong enough as a beast tamer, but they didn't expect his cultivation to be so strong. My strength is not bad. I won't drag you down, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. As long as they are not hostile to him, Yi Tianyun will treat them with a smile. That's not what we mean. I mean, you are too strong. Is he really at the core transformation stage? Ren Liangchen said in shock. Yes, he is at the peak of the core transformation stage, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. He really is at the peak of the core transformation stage. They gasped, but it was still within their expectation. Judging from his strength, Yi Tianyun was indeed at the peak of the core transformation stage. Yi Tianyun didn't lie. He only used his cultivation at the peak of the core transformation stage. He didn't use his cultivation at the void spirit stage. How can we say that you are dragging us down? We are dragging you down, Ren Liangchen said with a wry smile. They had been taking care of Yi Tianyun before, but they didn't expect that Yi Tianyun's cultivation would be much stronger than theirs. There is no such thing as dragging us down. We are not in the ghost world yet, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. Ren Liangchen patted his chest and said confidently, that's true. Let's cut to the chase. We promise to bring you to the netherworld. Chapter 470. Ding. Successfully killed Liu Long. Reward, 440. 000 EXP, 4400 crazy point, 500 SPS. While they were waiting, Liu Long's death notification came, and Yi Tianyun got EXP. Because he didn't use crazy experience mode, he didn't get a lot of EXP. But this is not a big problem for him. 1,000,000 EXP is nothing to him. The most important thing is to complete the quest. If he can get some treasures or soul accumulating grass in the phoenix nest, he will make a lot of money. He doesn't believe that there is no soul accumulating grass in such a big phoenix nest. After half a day, the death fog finally showed signs of dissipating. Look, the death mist finally began to dissipate. They were all excited. After waiting here for so long, the death mist finally began to dissipate. If they continue to stay here, they will be sucked dry. The black chi here is much stronger than outside, and the consumption is much higher than before. Indeed, it is finally dissipating. Yi Tianyun nodded, but this is just the beginning. If they walk too slowly, the death mist will sweep over them several times. The difficulty will be greatly increased. It is too difficult to reach the ghost world, but there are still many people who want to go to the ghost world. It was all for a better cultivation environment, which was much better than this place. Just the spiritual power concentration in the normal area is much higher than here. As for how much higher, they have to go there to find out. Soon, the death mist dissipated very quickly, and in a blink of an eye, it dissipated relatively thin, but there is still a layer of death mist shrouding the area. It did not completely disappear. But they can vaguely see the road ahead. Unlike before, even if they use their spiritual sense to perceive it, they can't easily explore it. Let's go. If we are late, it will be too late. Ren Liangchen nodded and took out a map from his storage ring. It is a detailed map, describing how to go through the death mist. Yi Tianyun glanced at the map and found that it is roughly the same as the Netherworld passage map he obtained. There is not much difference. He didn't expect that they really got a real map, not a fake one. It is very likely that they found a lot of information in this area. It is possible that they found several maps, and finally confirmed this one. After looking at the road, Ren Liangchen immediately took the lead and walked forward, and smiled at Yi Tianyun. Brother Yi, this time it is our turn. We spent a lot of effort to get this map. We can definitely get out of here. How can you be so sure? Yi Tianyun asked. Of course we're confident. We spent a lot of money to buy it from the experts who returned from the Netherworld. How could it be wrong? Ren Liangchen smiled and said, if we don't come prepared, we will die. We don't want to die here. We don't have any enemies. We live a good life in Heavenly Border Continent. Even if we want to die, we won't come here. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. An expert who returned from the ghost world. Did he really return from the ghost world? This was good news. He had always been curious about how the cultivators from the underworld came back. Now, it seemed like he could find out a little. I'm sure, he has the Ghost World's token, he definitely doesn't have it in the heavenly boundary continent, Ren Liang Chen said with certainty. Do you know where he came from? Yi Qianyun asked. Ren Liang Chen shook his head and said, he didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want to talk about it no matter what. He seemed to have experienced something terrifying. I thought I could get more information or find out about other passages, but it seems like this is the only passage to the netherworld. So that's how it is. Yi Qianyun nodded. Although he didn't know where they came from, he was sure that Ming Chen wouldn't come out from here. This way, at least the situation here could be ruled out, and there was no need to guard this place. But if he wasn't here, where could he be? Immediately, they set off quickly. The two core transformation stage cultivators were still lying on the ground. No one knew if they were dead or alive. It would take a lot of effort to detoxify them, and whether they could survive or not was not something that Yi Qianyun could do. Anyway, he had given them a chance, and if they couldn't survive, then they couldn't blame him. Under Ren Liangchen's lead, they quickly moved forward and turned left and right according to the map. In front of them was not a forest, but a maze of rock walls. There were many paths, and they didn't know which one was the right one. Fortunately, they had a map, so they wouldn't get lost. Go this way. Ren Liangchen led them to the left side, and said, be careful, even if this is the right way, it is not safe here. This was a natural danger zone, and it wasn't a formation set up by a powerful cultivator, so everything would change according to the situation. As they continued to walk forward, suddenly a black shadow came towards them, and it happened to pounce on Yi Qianyun. It didn't pounce on anyone, it just pounced on him. A long sword appeared in Yi Qianyun's hand, and he turned around and slashed at the black shadow. In a blink of an eye, the black shadow was cut in half. Then, a stream of black blood splashed out, and Yi Qianyun quickly propped up a protective shield to block the black blood. However, when the black blood touched his shield, it made a sizzling sound, trying to burn through the shield, but Yi Qianyun's spiritual power is not weak, of course, it's impossible to burn through the shield. Brother Yi, what happened? They all turned around and saw a black worm on the ground. It was as thick as an arm, and it looked very disgusting. This is a dark water worm. If you are bitten, you will be injected with a lot of poison. It is very disgusting. Ren Liangchen immediately recognized it after seeing it. And it is quite fast. Brother Yi's skills are not bad, otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to block it. It's okay, let's continue. Yi Qianyun signaled them to continue to move forward. Ren Liangchen nodded and continued to lead them forward. As they continued to move forward, there were a lot of dark water worms along the way, but they all had one thing in common, and that was to attack Yi Qianyun. Strange, why are they all attacking Brother Yi? They felt very strange. They didn't let Yi Qianyun walk at the back. They were all walking at will, but they only attacked him. Yes, it seems like the dark water sharks are the same, probably because my aura is too weak, so they give priority to me. Yi Qianyun smiled and didn't care about it. He suppressed his aura to be very weak, so it was easy for these monsters to attack him, and most importantly, his sin value was too high, so it was easy for him to attract their hatred. Chapter 471. A high sin value would always attract hatred, whether it was towards humans or demon beasts, it had a great effect. As long as there was hostility, he would be the first to be targeted. For example, if they both scolded, even if the words were the same, he would definitely be the first to be hit. This was the reason why his sin value was too high, he would attract too much hatred. There was only one way to solve this, and that was to use up his sin value, which was the simplest and most violent way. But how could he be willing to do that? He would definitely save up to buy a new set that was worth millions. In this state, Yi Qianyun's ability to attract hatred would become stronger and stronger, and now he was playing it incisively and vividly. As long as it was a dangerous place, he would definitely be involved. If his cultivation was too low, he would definitely be the first to die. But there was no other way. In order to exchange for a high-grade set of sin, he could only endure it. Brother Yi, in fact, we can all resist. There is no need for you to do it alone. They all looked at Yi Qianyun worriedly. Although the dark water worm was very fast, they could still resist it. Yes, I know your cultivation is very high, but to resist it alone, isn't that looking down on us? We all came prepared. If we can't even deal with these little worms, how can we survive in the underworld? Yang Jiwen was a little angry. It was good to have Yi Tianyun's help, but it was all Yi Tianyun's help. It made them very apologetic. Yes, I am very angry. Lung, whose face sank, he also felt unhappy. Yi Tianyun felt helpless. He just randomly found an excuse. How could he really do it on purpose? His sin value was too high. There was nothing he could do. I know your level, but this time you lead the way. I will help to resist the demon beasts. This is a normal division of labor, right? Yi Tianyun said, now is not the time to discuss this matter. We should hurry up and pass the test. We can talk about other things after we go out. He immediately shifted his attention. They looked at each other. This was the only thing they could do for now. Then they continued to move forward. Yi Tianyun continued to attract hatred. Not a single demon beast attacked them. It was all aimed at Yi Tianyun. This made them feel very guilty. However, there was one more thought in his mind, and that was gratitude. Yi Tianyun could feel it because he could see with his naked eye that their favorability towards him was rising. It seemed that they would soon break through to 200 favorability. A friend in need is a friend indeed. Favorability was the fastest to increase. This made him want to win them over. It would be great if they could join his Heavenly Clouds mansion. Then, he would have 3 more generals. All 3 of them were core transformation stage cultivators. If they could get more resources and martial arts, wouldn't they be able to soar to the sky? However, he didn't say anything for the time being. He could only wait for an opportunity. If there wasn't an opportunity, then he wouldn't say anything. As they advanced deeper and deeper, the deathly fog began to thicken, causing their expressions to change. Not good. The death mist is starting to condense. It seems like we have to stay here for now. Ren Liangchen saw that the situation was getting worse, so he had to stop. The dense death fog moved quickly, but it came even faster. It seemed to be condensing, but in the blink of an eye, it became dense. Although they could continue to move forward, it was easy to go the wrong way when they couldn't see the road clearly. They could only see half a meter in front of them clearly, so how could they judge the road? The best way was to stay where they were and wait for the dense death fog to dissipate. It seems that we still can't get out of here before the dense death fog gathers. This is the most dangerous time. We can't see the surrounding situation at all, so we don't even know if there is a sneak attack. Their expressions were grim. The reason why this place was called the dense death fog was because they couldn't sense anything. They couldn't sense anything, but the problem was that the sneak attack of the demon beasts could sense their existence. This was the scariest part. Getting lost wasn't scary at all, as they could walk slowly, but once the dense death fog gathers, death would be waiting for them. The key was that they didn't know that death was approaching. They could only sense it at the moment of death. They all took out their weapons and looked around vigilantly, but all they could see was darkness, and they couldn't see anything clearly. The fear of the unknown gradually filled their hearts, and they didn't even dare to say a word. As soon as they heard the slightest sound, they would immediately look in that direction. Do you believe me? Yi Tianyun suddenly asked. His voice broke the silence, and they all looked over, not knowing what he meant. Of course, why wouldn't we believe you? We've seen Brother Yi's ability, so who wouldn't believe you? Ren Liangchen was confused. Then give me the map, and I'll bring you out. Yi Tianyun didn't tell them that he had the map, as it was equivalent to giving them a slap in the face. Bring us out in this dense fog. They looked at Yi Tianyun in disbelief. Even if his cultivation was higher, it was impossible for him to clearly see the surrounding situation, right? It shouldn't be a problem. As long as you believe me, I think we can get out of here. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly, looking very confident. The 3 of them looked at each other, but they didn't think for too long. Ren Liangchen passed the map to Yi Tianyun. Basically, you saved our lives, we believe you, Ren Liangchen said solemnly. After Yi Tianyun took it, he took the lead and walked forward. Thank you for your trust. Don't worry, I'll bring you out. It's not a difficult thing for me. After saying that, he threw out 2 dark water bugs and asked them to explore the way forward. After seeing it, they immediately understood what was going on. Brother Yi, no wonder you dared to say that. So you have the dark water bugs to lead the way. We can't sense the situation in front of us, but the dark water bugs can. I was so nervous that I forgot that you're also a monster tamer. With their help, even if it's the death fog, we can still walk out. Yang Juwen and the others were overjoyed. They really forgot about that. Yi Tianyun smiled. He was already prepared, and he specially caught the dark water bugs to find the way. As a pet owner, he could easily sense the situation of his pets and let them find the way for him. This was the advantage of being a monster tamer. No matter where he went, he could instantly go back to his own home by catching a pet there. What kind of maze was useful to him? It's useless. Yes, let's go, let's get out of here quickly. Yi Tianyun smiled and quickly led them forward. The reason why he was attacked by many dark water bugs and other monsters along the way was that they attacked him. Chapter 472. Under the guidance of the dark water bug, they walked forward easily. In addition to dealing with the demon beasts that constantly pounced on them, there was no other problem. For those with low cultivation, this is a nightmare, but for him, it is easy. Not only can he have the dark water bug to find the way, but he also has a lot of strength. The death fog can't stop them. They can walk without any delay. Originally he wanted to rely on the soul guidance to find the way. In theory it can be done, but the soul guidance only gives a rough direction. It is not very accurate. Of course, if he activates the luck aura, he can walk out at will. With the terrifying luck aura, he can definitely walk out easily, but the consumption of crazy point is quite terrifying, so it is better not to try this method. Fortunately, there is the dark water bug to guide the way, so everything becomes very easy. After walking for a long distance, the death fog in front of them began to thin. It is not that the death fog is ready to dissipate, but they are ready to go out. Soon, under the leadership of Yi Tianyun, they walked out of the death fog. The first thing that came into view is not a dangerous scene, but a group of people. That's right, a group of cultivators had set up camp and were meditating in the distance, as if they were living here. Yi Tianyun glanced at them and found that their cultivation is not weak. All of them are above the 6th or 7th level of core transformation stage. There are even some peak core transformation stage cultivators. The total number of at least a dozen or 20 cultivators, it is really a lot. If it is outside, it is equivalent to a very powerful force. It is just that they seem to have their own camp. They are not together. When they appeared, they were very vigilant, and when they saw the 4 of them coming out, they were shocked. It was inconceivable that so many people could come out after passing through the fog of death. Especially coming out of the death fog, it is even more incredible. Generally, people wait for the death fog to dissipate before coming out. Is the death fog dissipated now? Of course not, it is still covering the area behind them. But after coming out, there is no death fog here. Even the black gas has become thin, as if they walked out of the death fog. But the scene in front of them clearly tells them that they did not go out. There is a towering cliff not far from Yi Tianyun. There is no other road here. This means that they have to climb over this mountain, otherwise they will not be able to pass. This towering cliff pierces the sky. The top is blocked by a layer of black clouds. It is completely impossible to see what is above. And this is the last checkpoint, Nether Gate. After passing through this place, they would be able to successfully reach the netherworld. This was their final hurdle. Most of the black gas here was absorbed by the cliff, so there didn't seem to be any black gas being released around them. They could continue to stay here for a long time without needing to replenish their spiritual power. He turned his head and looked behind him. Behind him was the passageway of the death fog. Just like that, he walked out of it without any mishaps. We're finally out. It was too smooth. It's all thanks to Brother Yi. Otherwise, we'd be in trouble. We might even die in there. Ren Liangchen sighed. Ren Liangchen said, Yi Tianyun of Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun Nethergate is of. But if they knew that Yi Tianyun already had the map, what would they think? No matter what, they are ashamed of themselves. They promised to show off, but Yi Tianyun took all the credit. They do not know what to say. Based on this situation, Yi Tianyun does not even need to team up with them. It might be easier for him to go alone. You don't have to say that. This should be the last checkpoint, right? Through this, we will successfully reach the netherworld, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. Yes, as long as we pass through this nether gate, We will successfully reach the netherworld. Ren Liangchen looked around and said in a deep voice, but this is the most difficult part. So many cultivators came here, but they are trapped here. Either we go back the way we came, or we climb up this cliff. There is no other choice. Their expressions are solemn. It is also not easy for them to climb up this cliff. So many cultivators are trapped here. They do not think they can climb up immediately. But before coming here, they have already thought about this, so they have long been prepared. When they walked over, all the cultivators looked over, but they did not pay attention to them. They just glanced at them, and then ignored them, focusing on their cultivation. Yi Tianyun saw some mockery in their eyes, but more of it was despair. It seems that being trapped here for a long time has worn down their spirit. They do not want to move anymore. When they approached the cliff, they immediately felt a strong black gas seeping out from the cliff. It is obvious that this is not an ordinary cliff. If they climb up, the black gas will invade their bodies. The higher they climb, the more serious it is. Once they are invaded, if they cannot hold on, they may fall from the top. If they can fly, this cliff is not a problem for them at all. They can easily fly over. Now, it is different. They can only climb up with their bare hands. They cannot fly at all. At the same time, some cultivators continue to climb up, bit by bit, at a speed that is neither fast nor slow. In the process of climbing, the black gas is released from the cliff, and then it penetrates into his body. At first, it can be expelled, but the higher it is, the more difficult it is. If it is a mountain climbing, it is not a problem for them to climb for a few days. No matter how steep it is, they can easily conquer it. Here, every climb is so difficult. The cultivator at the 7th level of core transformation stage seems to be unable to hold on any longer. But he still insisted on climbing up, ready to climb to the top of the black cloud. Suddenly, the black cloud rushed over and penetrated into his body. The cultivator's expression changed. His originally fair face turned black in an instant. After climbing a few more times, he finally could not resist, let go of his hands, and slowly fell from the sky. As soon as he landed on the ground, he knelt on the ground. Huff, huff, huff. I failed again. I failed again. The cultivator panted heavily and began to disperse the black gas in his body. However, the speed was still a bit slow, and he could only disperse it bit by bit. There are many people like him. Some of them are meditating on the side. Obviously they have climbed before, and they have failed, so they stayed here to meditate to recover. After recovering, they continue to climb up. They do not know how long it will take to climb to the top. Chapter 473. Those who couldn't pass the test were all failures, and some of them had failed more than once or twice. However, no one showed any sympathy to them. They just sat down and meditated to recover. There are newcomers again. This time, 4 of them came at once. They are really lucky. How can there be so many people like this? Unbelievable. That's right. But what's the point of them coming here? Once they experience this place, they will know that it is meaningless to pass the death fog. This place is much more difficult than the death fog. Hee, we can see the feeling of newcomers failing again. I remember that last time, there was a newcomer who couldn't react in time and fell to his death. I don't know how high they can climb for the first time. I think they can climb up to 500 feet at most. 500 feet. I think it will be good if they can climb up to 400 feet. I don't know much about this place. Can they resist the black chi? They were discussing among themselves. Suddenly, the focus fell on them. Maybe they saw that Yi Tianyun and the others were about to climb up, so they immediately had a new topic to talk about. This seemed quite harmonious, but in fact, each of them was a ruthless person. They were able to pass through so many dangers, so they must be very strong. Moreover, there were half good and half bad people in the ghost world. However, they didn't plan to attack Yi Tianyun. In addition to medicinal pills, weapons, and the like were useless here. They couldn't help them pass through the netherworld gate, so what's the point of robbing them? Unless they didn't have any medicinal pellets. Newcomers, do you have extra medicinal pellets? An expert at the peak of core transformation stage stood up from the side. It seemed like he had just recovered. He walked towards them when he saw them. This peak core transformation stage expert was not old. He was only in his 40s. He looked kind and kind. However, no one knew what he was thinking. Ren Liangchen and the others were shocked. They didn't know what this expert wanted to do. They were worried that this core transformation stage expert would attack them. Yi Tianyun's expression was calm. He took out 2 bottles of ordinary medicinal pellets and threw them to the expert. Can you tell me the details of this place? The core transformation stage cultivator took the bottle and opened it. After smelling it, he nodded and said, not bad at all. Thank you. After receiving the pill, the core transformation stage powerhouse said with a smile. Actually, we just need to climb over there and we can reach the ghost world. You all know this. Ren Liangchen and the others were furious. Isn't this nonsense? He more or less knew a little about this place. If he climbed over, he would definitely be in the netherworld. The question was what the situation here was like. Calm down. This little brother is very good. He doesn't look anxious at all. That's the attitude you need. Because regardless of whether you are anxious or not, after experiencing it a few times, you will realize that being anxious is useless. The core transformation stage cultivator glanced around and said, see? They are all losers, including me. Who hasn't failed a few times here? So calm down and listen to me. Don't panic. Actually, it's not difficult. The higher you climb, the stronger the black gas will be. The higher you climb, the more pressure you will feel. Especially when you reach the top of the black cloud, you will feel the pressure of thousands of pounds. Coupled with the invasion of the black gas, your body will not be able to bear it. It's very easy for you to fall from the top. If you are capable, you will be able to adjust quickly and land steadily. If you can't adjust, you will die, just like the other side. He pointed at the piles of bones on the side, turning from corpses to skeletons. It didn't take too long to turn a corpse into a skeleton here. After turning into a skeleton, it would be quickly swallowed up by the ground and gradually disappear. This kind of strange phenomenon happened frequently in this place. The corrosive force here was too strong, so it was normal for the bones to be swallowed up. Other than that, there is nothing else to pay attention to. If you really can't pass, I advise you to go back the way you came. However, staying here is a kind of training. I will go back after a while. Thank you so much for the pill, little brother. The core transformation stage cultivator smiled and sat down again. He continued to use the pill to recover. Obviously, he felt that his recovery speed was slow, so he came to ask for the pill. Oh, it seems that you have a lot of recovery pills on you. Little brother, can you give me some? Another core transformation stage cultivator said as he walked towards Yi Tianyun. What information do you have? Tell me and this bottle of pills is yours. Yi Tianyun took out a bottle of pills. He wanted to understand the situation here. Information? No, I just want to ask you to give me some pills. The cultivator said casually. No, please go back. Yi Tianyun said indifferently. It seems that you are quite bold. I'm not the only one who's asking you for pills. What do you think? The cultivator smiled sinisterly. Then, 3 or 4 core transformation stage cultivators stood up. Their auras were not weak. Obviously, they thought that they were new here and wanted to get some pills. After staying here for a long time, the pills that they prepared were almost used up. Yi Tianyun was not a kind person. What did it have to do with him if they didn't have any pills? Enough, I don't care about the others, but I will protect this kid. At this time, the core transformation expert who took the pill from Yi Tianyun before snorted coldly. His aura is at the peak of the core transformation realm, which is one of the strongest among all the core transformation experts. Lefeng, it seems like you're sincere in making things difficult for us. The cultivator frowned, feeling very displeased. I think this kid is not bad. You can do whatever you want to the other 3, but no one can touch him. Lefeng's tone was indifferent, but it was full of majesty. The other cultivators looked at each other and finally said, okay, we will give you face. I won't touch this kid, but you can definitely touch the other 3, right? As you wish. Lefeng said indifferently. The cultivator immediately turned to look at Yi Tianyun and said, you are lucky. Hand over the rest of the pills, or don't blame us for being rude. Lung Hu and the other cultivators were angry, but when they were about to curse back, A figure rushed over and kicked the cultivator fiercely. The cultivator spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Ding! Successfully killed Cheng Yang. Reward, 1,200,000 EXP, 48,000 Crazy Point, 600 SPS. Obtained Martial Art Demon Soul Claw, Demon Cloud Step. Obtained items, Recovery Pill, Detoxification Pill, Tiani Armor, High-Grade Soul Tool.